Okay, so hopefully we are live. Maybe. Hopefully. Let's clear that off there. Can you hear me and see me? Unfortunately for you, if you are watching. Good evening, everyone. It is Saturday the 3rd of February 2024. You said 2023. Is it working? Let's see. If loud and clear, says Stuart Cleary. Touchdown says he's weak. Well, I won't go as far as that, but I'm here. Yes, we can hear you and see you. Excellent 5x5 mic. Thank you very much, Hell's Gate. Let's make sure overhead camera is working. Yeah, no weirdness going on. Although there seems to be something bizarre going on with the colour on the main camera input, but not on the overhead for some reason. Not too sure why that would be. Anyway, everything seems to be working. Oh, my party blooper didn't work. Why did my party blooper not work? Gosh darn it. Why is that not working? Where's my main output device? Where are we? Audio. Ah, that's why, because we're on the wrong monitor. There we go. That's better. Absolutely. Awesome! Oh yeah, let's do that. Let's go back to the main camera. I've got some super chats coming already from you lovely, lovely people out there. God bless you. There is a £20 super chat coming from Ugly Bob. It says, just attended a... where does it go to? Oh no, don't want to put a user in. Is that working? It is working. I can click on there. Excellent. I didn't think that worked. I just attended a training course to learn about the most effective way of creating tunnels. It was boring. Thank you very much, Bob. And there's another one. Is that the same one twice? Have you done it twice? Or is this machine just not working properly?
I think it's only once.
Yeah, it's showing twice on the top. There's another one from Jason Woods, £5. Says yo-yo. Thank you, Jason. Much appreciated. And I think there was another one. Was there another one?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one from a rally. Thank you very much. It says Mac Mini. Yes, we do have a Mac Mini in the house. As you can see, covered in cat's hairs. Been playing with this week, and yeah, not entirely sure how I feel about it, to be honest with you, but we will possibly be discussing that later on. And also, there's another £2 there from Ugly Bob. Disco, 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 disco. Thank you very much. So why is the rallies not showing on the top of the screen then for some reason?
Ages ago, wasn't it? I don't know, there's another one now, isn't there?
Bob's showing, yeah. What's going on? There's something very weird going on with this tonight.
There's another one on there now.
And I think there's another one. Kath's just said, yeah, there's another one from Firestorm. Thank you very much, Firestorm, for your £5 super chat. Much appreciated. And thank you for joining us. That's a
one more.
One more? Oh, there's another one as well. Do another one. Another one from Nick Barnes and Joe. Thank you very much for the £10 PayPal. I'm Molly. PayPal donation towards the Mac fund. Gonna need it. Skystalker says it's bigger than I thought, that Apple thingy. It's perspective. It's actually...
Mike's got tiny hands.
I've got small hands. Which is handy at some points.
Handy.
So yeah, the Mac Mini is actually quite small. It's not as small as like the mini PCs you can buy, those little M100s and things like that. But yeah, it is pretty cool. If you like technology, even if you don't like Apple for their dastardly deeds that they do in terms of pricing and all that kind of stuff, I think you can still appreciate what this actually represents. Although, if you look at the back, the ports are not particularly plentiful, let's say. So 2 USBs, 2 Thunderbolts, an HDMI, a 1 gig LAN, and that's kind of it. And a headphone jack. So, yes. That Apple logo does not look right on this set. You're probably right. Which is fortunate because I actually bought a add-on dock, which is this thing here, which adds in a whole bunch of USB ports. Card reader, very important. Also an additional USB Type-C. More importantly, on the back, another HDMI output, so I can actually watch and record when I'm making videos at the same time. It's got a VGA port for some reason, don't know why. But best of all, underneath, in here, there is room for a 2.5-inch SSD. So you can put in a SATA-based SSD to massively upgrade the storage on your Mac, which is generally, well, let's be honest, it's piss poor. So this particular Mac, I've got the basic level, entry level, cheapo nasty, which is still £600. This has a 8 gigabytes of RAM, and it also has 256 gig storage, which isn't a great deal. But if you think about it in more kind of less PC terms, realistically, it isn't a gaming PC at all. And for most people, if you're looking out there, the majority of stuff on your PC is probably going to be your Steam library, Epic Games, Ubisoft, all those kinds of things, which take up an absolute ton of room. Whereas this isn't a gaming PC. So at the moment, with nothing installed apart from a few little choice apps, maybe Chrome, some other things like that, it's still got about 200 gigabytes free, if not more. So there's actually a reasonable amount of room. If you're doing video edits on it, you want to video edit off a separate drive anyway. You don't really want to video edit on your primary drive, so it's not too bad. I haven't installed Adobe Premiere on it yet to give it any kind of real testing. I've done some speed tests to make sure that the hard drives work and all that kind of stuff. And I must admit, I'm not overly blown away by it, if I'm completely honest with you. It is a very different experience. If you've been in the Windows ecosystem for a very, very long time, which I have since basically Windows 3 point whatever it was, really more got into it Windows 95 when that first came out. So probably about 30 years-ish of using Windows. And it's a hard thing to shake. And some things that you kind of expect to just be quite simple to do are actually quite difficult. Things like file management tasks on a Mac is actually quite difficult to do. And I actually did miss the ease of use of a Windows PC. Anything like just installing a program is far, far easier on a PC. And the Mac operating system reminds me massively of Windows 8.1. And if you've used a Mac, you'll probably understand what I mean by that, because the Apple ecosystem is kind of very unified, but it brings in a lot of things which would be on a PC and also on a tablet, or on an iPad and also on a Mac, and possibly on your phone as well. So there's a lot of elements where you think, oh, this could actually do with a touch interface, and there's parts of it which are kind of like very well hidden. So trying to get into any of the Mac settings is kind of like a little bit of a chore. And the weirdest thing, this is the thing that got me straight away. I thought plugging a PC keyboard and mouse in would be the easiest thing to do in the world. And it turns out it isn't. It's extremely difficult to do and to actually work out how to get it to work properly, especially if you're using a UK layout, because Apple are obviously somewhat Americanized in the way that they set up the operating system. And there's also bizarre things like your mouse scrolling wheel. So a normal PC mouse, if you plug it into a Mac, when you scroll down, you scroll up, and when you scroll up, you scroll down. So it's inverted to start with. And it's like, well, why? But there is a reason for it. It's just, yeah, if you're coming from a PC ecosystem, it's a little bit odd. So there is where I'm at with it at the moment. I'm sure there's going to be tons and tons of questions, and I've already done 3 videos with it, basically to rectify the things that I've been finding problematic. And that was the point of this, because the PC ecosystem and industry at the moment is somewhat stale. It seemed like a good idea at this point to try it, see what it's like, and get to grips with it. And also, it's a good thing for new content, because if myself as a experienced PC user, or I've had many years of experience, I wouldn't necessarily say I was experienced, but I kind of know my way around Windows. I've turned into Jonathan Ross. I know my way around Windows reasonably well, and most things I can find out quite simply. So if I can't plug in a Macintosh and just feel comfortable using it straight out of the gate, then I'm sure there's going to be absolutely hundreds of thousands of people who are in exactly the same boat as me, and are potentially considering the same thing, being that PC stuff has become extraordinarily expensive. Maybe you're just going to go over to using a console, and use a PC for just doing PC stuff like your emails, spreadsheets, work stuff, Zoom calls, Discord, all that kind of thing, of which this is absolutely perfect because it draws a ridiculously low amount of power, is absolutely silent in operation, and takes up so little room. So there are lots of positives of the Mac Mini, and it isn't a slouch either. It's actually quite well performing, but it's not a desktop PC by any stretch of the imagination in terms of ease of use, definitely, which is actually really a weird thing because when these came out, it was one of those things that Steve Jobs' vision was always that the PC should be a natural extension of you and everything should just feel simple and easy to do. And for me personally, I think that the Mac doesn't do that personally, but maybe it does for you. Let me know what you think in the comments. Kath's got her arm up, so you can get cramp in a minute.
Yeah, bloody hurts. Zeus, I think it is Z-I-U-S.
Zeus.
Have you ever tried any Thermalright AIOs?
I have not tried any Thermalright AIOs at present. Now there's actually a reasonably good reason for that because I've got so many AIOs here at the moment, it's not even funny. And we are actually at a point where I'm trying to downsize some of the stock that we've got here because it is just getting a little bit bizarre. And with a lot of AIOs, they all tend to be very, very similar in terms of performance. There's a few kind of outliers which are significantly better in certain areas, but realistically, most AIOs, whether it's a 240 or a 360, they all fall into a very similar category of performance with maybe only a couple of degrees Celsius different between them. So really, if there's a nice, cheap and cheerful one which fits your bill, has got the colors you want on it, looks like it's easy to install, good price, whatever, then it's kind of like, yeah, just go with whatever is the cheapest that works for you.
And on the subject of AIOs.
Yeah, and also on the subject of AIOs, we are actually going to be doing the giveaway for the one that Bob donated to the channel. So that is the Sahara EX360, which is currently up on the shelf. So if you want to be involved in that, there is a link which has been pinned in the chat. So go to the link, it's on our Discord, go to the giveaways page and just click on the thumbs up, I think it is on there.
Yeah.
And you'll be entered into the draw, which we'll try and do a little bit later on. So good luck to all of those that have entered already. I'll be honest with you, I was actually surprised how many people have actually entered. I was thinking that it's kind of the PC market is a little bit meh at the moment. People won't have much interest, but actually there's about 60 people already that have entered into the draw, which actually surprised me. I thought there was going to be about 10, if that. So yeah, good luck to all of you that have entered already. And if you have not, now is the time to do it. Now, there's a couple of extra super chats here. So we've got a £5, sorry, Ugly Bob has gifted 5 viewers memberships. So thank you very much for that. So they have been gifted to Matthew Day, The Ordinary Dude, Hayden Trent, and Jay Gordon. So all of you now have early access to the Mike's Unboxing videos on YouTube.
Put a Discord link for anyone that wants to enter.
Oh yeah, good point. It's in the chat. But I will put a link anyway, so if you want to... Oh, I've gone to the wrong camera now. Hello, overhead camera. Links, there we go. Discord. So links in the chat for Discord. If you go in there, join up, head over to the giveaways room and you can find it. If not, again, it's pinned at the top. So you can enter that way. Where else have we got? So, super chat. So there's Ugly Bob. Let me scroll through. Hell's Gate. Thank you very much, Hell's Gate. With a £10 super chat saying, I have a spare GameMax White Diamond ARGB mid-tower ATX case. Front panel is pretty closed off. Any suggestions on using a top-down cooling setup? Yeah, with that Hell's Gate, I would say the GameMax White Diamond is one of those cases where, yeah, it is quite choked off on the front. What you can do is actually try and open up the bottom a little bit more if you wanted to. So where you've got the grab handle section at the bottom, you could, if you wanted to, get a Dremel or some kind of cutting tool and just make that a little bit more open. If you put some fans in there behind it and actually remove most of the obstructions, you'll find that it will remove a reasonable amount of air. Alternatively, if you don't want to do that, then you can just go with a top-down cooling setup. So get yourself 2 120mm fans, some reasonably good ones with high RPM, and have them pushing down. Remove the filter from the top of the case. So that's going to push cool air in. and then ideally probably put another 120mm fan at the back of the case, but also pushing in rather than exhausting. So you're going to be doing basically the reverse. So you're going to be pushing air in from the top and the back, and hopefully it will then try and escape through either the rear ventilation slots for the PCI Express, or it will just push out the front of the case wherever it can do. Ultimately, it's one of those things that with that particular case, there's not a huge amount of things you can do to improve the airflow. Like when it came out, what was it, 5 years ago or more, then PCs were a little bit of a different beast, whereas now temperatures seem to be spiking quite dramatically. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question to some extent. Alternatively, actually, if you're in the UK and you fancy changing out the case, then we are going to be doing some more giveaways, or basically just selling off the PCs at very, very low prices, or cases rather, on the Discord. So if you are interested, we will be putting a ton more stuff in there in the coming days and weeks. Literally, it's just got absolute bananas here. Can barely move for cases and parts and bits and pieces, and cats, clearly. So we'll be getting rid of some of those. So if there's a particular case that we've reviewed that you like the look of, maybe drop me a line on the Discord, send me a direct message or something, or just say, look, I like this case. Have you still got it? Are you going to be using it? Would you consider selling it to me for an extremely good price? In which case is most likely I would do. Yes, Kath?
I've lost it now.
She's lost it. She's lost it. I think there was another super chat actually someone sent in, but maybe there wasn't. Ordinary Dude says, I need to sell off a bunch of my stuff too. Yeah,
Andy 93, does NVIDIA slow down cards with consecutive updates?
Andy 93. Let's see if I can find you. Where is that question? No, I can't see it. How far down is it?
I don't know, because I'm still going down, so to speak.
I think, ultimately, I don't think that NVIDIA drivers, or really any drivers as such, or any manufacturer, I don't think they deliberately hobble performance these days. I think sometimes it's a trade-off because of the way that different architectures work. If you think with NVIDIA graphics cards, they're supporting 5 generations of graphics cards now. And obviously every single generation has something slightly different about it in the way that it works, the architecture. So they are going to be focused more on optimizing the current generation, because obviously it is the current generation. So potentially you may find sometimes that a tweak that is made to a driver for a current generation card could potentially be the opposite, basically downgrade the performance of a previous generation, which unfortunately is the nature of the beast. We do all like to have a unified driver database, so that there's just basically one file, they're all the same, and they just tweak it so the newest cards are best. Years ago, you'd get a dedicated driver for every type of card, and then it was like luck of the draw whether or not you got updates past a certain point. So I think it's one of those things that by encompassing so many generations of a product in one unified driver is going to have detrimental effects on older generations. I think that's just the way it's going to be. Sometimes you will find that older generation cards may even get a slight performance boost as well, but generally, because of the architectural improvements, it's generally going to be worse. And also, what you have to remember is there's always going to be optimizations to games, especially things like Fortnite, CSGO, all the kind of esports titles where they're always constantly evolving and adding new features and doing new things. So the performance you may have got 2-3 years ago on a particular game may have been much better than it is now because of the changes in the game engine itself. So it's very easy to say, yes, the drivers are getting worse for cards as it goes on, but I think it's more of a thing where the game engines are changing, the game optimizations are improving for the newer generations, and the previous generations are being slightly left behind due to the lack of hardware support for those optimizations. Did I answer that reasonably well? I think I might have done, not sure. Yes. Firestorm. Mike's unboxing. Just got, oh god. This is the one I don't want to see. Firestorm, I've just got a RX7800XT. Have you got any tips on how to use Radeon Adrenaline software? Is there mad features? Mad or AMD? Which way is it? Now, I will say straight away, I have actually removed my 7800XT from my computer. So that is something actually which I was going to talk about in the stream. So that is probably a good place to start. So now for anyone considering buying a modern graphics card, this is the one I would probably recommend against. Which is probably going to upset a few people, but I can't say anything other than what is on my mind because it's basically on my mind. So this is the Sapphire, this is basically the AMD reference card. And it is hot, it is heavy, and it isn't particularly well optimized. So don't always be drawn into the thing of right, 7800XT, sort by price, which is the cheapest. Because that is the mistake I kind of made, and I am significantly regretting this purchase. I have actually arranged an RMA with the good people over at overclockers.co.uk, and actually, fair play to them, I put the request in I think on a Saturday or Friday or Sunday, I'm not sure when it was, and basically in my email inbox on the Monday morning, it's like, yep, no problem, here's your RMA number, send it back and we'll sort out a refund. So that was easier than expected. I'm still deliberating over my decision for a couple of reasons. One of which is this doesn't have the performance that I would expect in Adobe Premiere. Considering that AMD went to great lengths and advertising money to actually do a co-op with Adobe and have their CEO and AMD's graphics design bloke in a video together saying about how good this generation of cards is with Adobe Premiere. Now, in certain instances, there are some improvements, but they are few and, well, for me, it wasn't enough, unfortunately. So together with this card's, I would say, overly high idling wattage usage, the fact that it runs about 10 to 15 degrees hotter than pretty much any of the other 7800XTs on the market, and by that measure also runs about 5 to 10 degrees hotter than any of the 4070 Supers or 4070s. This, I think, was a bad decision. Now, I'll show you the card that it actually is. So if you're considering on buying one, this is the model that I would suggest that you avoid. It's well worth paying just a little bit extra money and getting a triple fan version rather than this dual fan version, as you'll see shortly. Don't get me wrong, the architecture itself, the 7800XT, if you are primarily into gaming and you live in a country where power usage is kind of one of those things that is just like, yeah, well, whatever, or perhaps you don't pay the electricity bills, it isn't a huge amount, but it's one of those things, if as somewhat of a computer enthusiast and someone who monitors temperatures and wattages and voltages basically on a daily basis, and also my PC is on at least 12 to 14 hours a day, if most of the time it's sat on a desktop with just Discord and a couple of tabs open on Chrome, you don't want your graphics card to be chewing through like 80 watts of power. It's just not a great idea, especially when something like a 4070 Super will do the same somewhere between 15 and 20 watts. So it's a significant difference in idle wattage. Also, again, this is the dual fan version. It is very quiet. I will give it that. It's extremely quiet. The heatsink is actually quite significant. Quite a big heatsink on there. It's a very well made card. Let's not make any bones about it. It's fully metal enclosed. It actually looks like quite a nice card as well. But for me, it's just not quite enough. And if you're spending somewhere leading up to nearly £500 for a graphics card, which this I think was $479. It was on offer at the time. I think it's now gone up to like $529, so it's jumped up nearly £50 in price, which is bizarre when these are all supposed to be going down in price. But anyway, whatever. Yeah, I would steer well clear of any of the dual fan models, particularly this MBA or made by AMD kind of reference type design. I don't think it's a very good deal, personally. it performs very well, and in games and stuff like that, it trades blows with the 4070 Super in the majority of titles. Obviously, anything which involves ray tracing, this isn't going to be that competitive because ray tracing is still NVIDIA's baby, isn't it? I think we can all agree on that. Although there are some titles like Far Cry 6 does actually much better and beats a lot of NVIDIA cards in terms of the price tiers. So there are going to be a few outliers where ray tracing is a little bit better. But for me personally, I think this particular card, the NBA or the reference design by AMD, it just isn't for me.
So they're giving you an RMA because you don't like it?
They are giving me an RMA because I don't like it, yes. Which surprised me more than it's surprising you. Because normally with things, well, I think the distance selling regulations come into it a little bit for us in the UK, because I'm pretty sure you've got within, I think it's either 7 or 14 days due to the distance selling regulations. So if you get a product and you get it and you're not happy with it, you are within your rights to return it. Now, not all manufacturers and companies will go along with that, and they will kind of argue till they're blue in the face that that isn't the case. But there are distance selling regulations in the UK, of which I think as long as you've got the product and you send it back in the same condition that you've received it, yeah, sure. If something doesn't suit you, then yeah, why shouldn't you send it back? Especially when you're considering basically £500 worth of equipment here, which I am still deliberating on whether or not to keep it. Because I get it from the point of view of, yeah, it's a little bit hotter, okay, you can modify your fans for that, and it uses a little bit more power. Well, what's an extra 20-30 quid a year on your electricity bill? I completely understand, and it does seem like it's a rather kind of nitpicky kind of thing to do, but ultimately you should be happy with what you're buying. And if it hadn't been for the fact that I'd used the 4070 Super before, or the fact that I actually have a Radeon RX 6800 in my PC right now, which is what this was going to be replacing, you would think the 7800 XT would be a significant leap in performance. But actually, due to the way they've actually made this card and the kind of the advancements in the silicon, it hasn't worked out that way. And in some games, actually, the 6800 is still basically matching this for performance, which is very odd and also somewhat disappointing as well. And it's not entirely difficult to see why the majority of PC enthusiasts or owners will buy an NVIDIA graphics card. As much as people like AMD, NVIDIA are better. There's no bones about it. They use less power, less wattage. Yeah, they cost more, but they can charge more because it's a better product, arguably. Depending on what you're looking at. If you're looking at pure rasterization results, then yeah, AMD will win in the majority of cases. If you're looking at a price level thing, or even a class level thing, AMD will win. But rasterization isn't everything, in my opinion. You shouldn't always be chasing FPS, because that is just a very, very small part of an entire product. Anyway, so there you go. Thank you for the super chat, whoever that was. Mick Woods, £10. Thank you very much. Says keep on rocking.
You keep on chatting.
Rocking, rolling. Thank you very much for that. So, going back to the original question, what can you do with the 7800 XT to basically make it better? Now, the first thing I did was go into the Adrenaline Center, undervolt the card, first of all. That's a very important thing to do. Go in straight away, undervolt the card, just let it do the factory undervolt. That'll take off probably a very small amount. It may not be overly noticeable, but we'll give you a little bit more headroom. The next thing to do, turn on Hyper RX. Hyper RX basically turns on all of the cool features that the card has, including the frame generation, the resizing of, or rescaling of the games on the fly sort of thing. It turns on all the candy. Now, you might find that there's a very, very slight latency penalty there. So if you're playing really fast FPS games like CSGO, or CS2 as it is now, then you might not want to turn that on. But play with it, see what you get. You do literally get almost double the frame rate when you turn on the fluid motion. AMD fluid motion frames, that's it. AFMF. AMD's fluid motion frames. And it is actually quite impressive. It really is. I actually went into Flight Simulator which actually runs really nicely on NVIDIA cards. So yeah, what the hell, I'll try it on this. And actually turning fluid motion frames on against having it off. With it off, I was getting around about 90 to 100 frames per second. With it on, I was getting around about 165. So that is actually quite an impressive jump, and it felt buttery smooth. It really did. So there is that. So that's something I'll do. Another super chat coming in from Stuart Cleary, sent us £20 on the PayPal. Thank you very much, Mr. Cleary. Much appreciated. Is there a message in there as well? No message, just money. Good. Cap's gonna check. Thank you very much, Stuart.
Yeah. No.
So, Alessa says, FPS for the win, lol. Americans are more than welcome to say that because their energy pricing is substantially better than pretty much anybody on the planet, other than possibly Saudi Arabia or something. So, yeah, I think if it wasn't for the fact that energy is at such a high price here in the UK, in Europe as well, Germany specifically, it's one of those things that it bugs you, the fact that you need to burn that much extra wattage to come close to the competitor, which actually shows how well NVIDIA are doing. Now, I am not an NVIDIA shill by any way, means, or it's just not a thing. So, yeah. Personally, if I was going to go out and buy a graphics card at this moment now, and I was looking to spend about £500, I would buy the 4070. Possibly not even the Super Edition, just the generic RX 470. Yes, 4070. Yes, it's got less VRAM. Yes, it may not be as fast in some games, but I feel, for me personally, the NVIDIA feature set and also the amount of wattage it uses when you're not gaming, which is going to be probably, well, depending on your usage, obviously. If you're someone who basically gets home from work, turns on your PC, fires up a game, plays your games for a couple of hours, turn the computer off, go to work the next day, rinse and repeat, AMD card's going to be absolutely great for you, and I would strongly suggest you get one. But if you're someone who is sat in front of the same PC pretty much all day, doing your general work, answering your emails, maybe creating a bit of content, just doing your normal daily PC routine, finding things on Amazon, finding things on eBay, buying, selling, whatever, then I think the efficiency from the NVIDIA cards is going to be the thing which is going to push you through. But anyway, whatever. There's another super chat from Hell's Gate. Thank you, Hell's Gate, being very generous tonight. Hang on, I'll be blinding myself here. Always peculiar how software companies sell their souls to hardware companies. The hardware companies get lots of hardware upgrade sales, but it doesn't usually turn out well for consumers. Yeah, I think specifically a case in point now is going to be the whole AMD NVIDIA thing. I am actually quite dumbfounded by that. I was really expecting AMD to come out of the box fighting and give my system a really good fighting chance. Rendering times weren't stellar. And in fact, some of you that are on the Discord will already know that when I first installed the card on the Saturday that it arrived, I did a quick render with my RX7800, then re-rendered the exact same project after with my 7800XT, and it actually took a minute longer to render. Now, considering the total render time was only about 8 or 9 minutes, that's like 10% or more slower, which doesn't make sense for what is, in theory, an improved product, especially in terms of the media engine. So yeah, I was just completely baffled and blown away. I cannot understand it. Sorry, Kath's throwing a phone in front of me. Colin Hilton, bless you, sir. Sent us a £30 donation. Thank you very much. Note from Colin Hilton, donation. He's a man of many words. God bless you, Colin. Thank you. Hey. Thank you, Colin. Actually, Colin, today, I know it's not Christmas anymore, but I actually opened up was it Marks and Spencer's?
John Lewis.
John Lewis. I opened up the John Lewis Panettone, which I don't even know how to explain it. It was just amazing. It was firm, moist, juicy, fruity, flavoursome, perfectly cooked. It was amazing. So thank you very much. I'm probably out too much, but that's me. I'm a typical Taurian. I am very much of the overindulging.
Well.
Kath's Taurian, but she's just too lazy to be gluttonous like me.
Always my fault.
Thank you very much, all of you. You're lovely, lovely people. I don't care what it says in the toilets about you. I think you're all great. Right, let's have a look and see what some of you guys are saying here. Now, actually, I have got the Discord kind of on here now. So we can actually, if you've got any comments or questions, or if you've got a PC problem and you want to send a picture of it on the Discord into one of the tech support channels, just ping me. I shouldn't say that really, but yeah, what the hell, ping me, and I'll try and bring it up on there, and we can maybe try and work through it together with the help of our fantastic community, and see if we can sort out any of your bizarre problems that you may or may not have.
Kaiser Solo?
Kaiser Solo.
Just above Hell's Gates Super Chat.
Kaiser Solo, Mike, you're different. You just don't game.
No.
You don't just game.
Above.
Oh, okay.
I disagree with you.
All right, there we go. This is good. I like a disagreement. Disagreements are good. It's good to have a bit of back and forward, although I can just delete your comment. Kaiser Solo says, I disagree with you. I have the 7800 XT and I used the 4070 for a week. I had to go back. Yes, you should be chasing FPS if gaming is your thing. Anything out with that, go with NVIDIA. Okay, so which 7800 XT did you purchase? Did you get the Founders or the AMD reference model? That is going to be one of the key considerations, I think. Now, I did say, I'm not sure if I made it clear, but I'm not saying don't get a 7800 XT. I'm just saying don't get that specific version. Don't get like the AMD reference edition, because I don't think the cooler is quite up to it. Well, it is, but the fans aren't. So I'll see if Kaiser Solo has answered that.
Oletta's asked a quickie.
Aletta, question, how long does a BIOS chip in a laptop hold power after the battery is removed? I need to clear the BIOS password. The BIOS chip in a laptop to hold power. So if you want to force it to discharge, if you disconnect the battery, both the laptop battery and also the CMOS battery, and then just press and hold the power button, that generally will try and force the motherboard to start or to go through the power on process, and that should discharge any of the capacitors which may have anything left in them. So just press and hold the power button, I don't know, 20-30 seconds, that should be more than enough. Generally that's what I do on a PC as well. There's another super chat, but I'm not seeing anything on the screen. Oh, there we go, it's come up. David Underhill, bless you, sir. David Underhill's 10 Aussie dollars, thank you very much. $10 from Aussie #1 fan. Thank you very much, David. That's much appreciated. Good old Australia. Kaiser Solo. Right, okay, so yeah, you've basically affirmed what I've said. So you've got the Red Devil version, which is a significantly better version. It's actually faster as well. So you've got a factory overclock going on there anyway. Plus you've got a triple fan cooler. I'm pretty sure it's a triple fan cooler. And it's a larger card as well. So you've got better heat dissipation. You've got better thermal control because of those 3 fans. And it's an overclock version anyway. So it's going to give you a very slight increase in performance. Maybe, I don't know, 5% or so, possibly more. So yeah, that is what I'm saying. Don't get the Founders or NBA edition. It is a mistake. So just to clarify for anyone who's watching and isn't like completely aware, I'm not saying don't buy a 7800 XT, although in certain instances I am saying that if you want to save power and if you're predominantly doing other things other than gaming, then the NVIDIA stack is going to probably be more beneficial to you. But if you are thinking of getting a 7800 XT, or actually for that matter any AMD card, I would still steer well clear of any of the reference designs. Now I've actually seen the flip side of this in action from Andy over etechnics.com. If you've ever been to his website or watched any of their videos, they recently did a comparison, 7800 XT, the non-reference edition versus the 4070 Super, the Founders edition. And they said they couldn't do the tests between the 2 Founders edition type cards because they weren't seeded one by AMD, so that was the next best thing that they could do. And in a lot of instances, especially when it came down to things like thermals and that kind of thing, noise levels. Obviously, the 7800 XT is going to wipe the floor with a Founders Edition NVIDIA card, because the Founders Editions do run hotter, even on the NVIDIA ones. So even though the temperatures are excellent still, they are not going to be as good as a aftermarket card, which is why we have add-in board partners to take a reference design and make improvements on it. Now, that might only be a couple of megahertz on the actual bus or the clock speed, but in general it's going to mean adding an additional fan, adding a little bit of RGB, and generally a considerably larger heatsink to make the card run at least a little bit cooler, which for some people again is a consideration. If you're living in a hotter country where the ambient temperatures are like 30, 35, 40 degrees Celsius, you want an add-in board card, or you want a add-in board card. You want a, basically you don't want the reference card. You want something with a few more fans, a bit better beefy cooling, just to keep the temps down. Rick H says, I love my RTX 2060 12 gig. The 2060 12 gig eluded me. I had the 2060 Super, and I think I had the KO edition as well, which I think that was still a 6 gig, or was it an 8 gig? I can't remember, it's been such a long time. Alessa says, thanks Mike, I will give that a try. Well, it should work for you, normally works. David Underhill says, power costs are not a problem, I just got a refund from the power company. Good man. Matthew Day says, laptop BIOS passwords can be sneakier than that, coded into the flash chip. Laptops can do very weird and wonderful things at times. Rick H says, I only have NVIDIA and Intel cards. Speaking of Intel cards, the PC which I built in the stream probably, well, it's got to be over a month ago now, still haven't sold it. It's still sat in the front room collecting dust. Unbelievable. You'd think, I'm not too sure what it is that puts people off about it. It's a nice looking PC, it's a nice looking case.
Price.
I don't think it's the price, because I've now taken it down to such a low price and I'm basically giving it away. Somebody actually come through to me and actually said about it, asking questions about it, and they've said, right, this is one I spec'd up from PC Part Picker, which wasn't as good a spec and was over £1,000, and they're still like, I'm in an iron because it's got an Intel graphics card in it. So I might have to take that graphics card out, put something else in there so I can actually finally sell that PC. Unbelievable. CJ, do you think my i7-8700K would keep up with an RTX 4070 Super at 1440p if I decide to upgrade my GPU? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure, but I think the motherboard that you might be using with the i7-8700K might only be PCI Express Gen 3, so that's going to hold it back slightly. I would say your best bet, even though it's not really an exact science, but go to a website such as Bottleneck Calculator and put your parts in there and see what it says. It will run. Whether or not it's going to run all games fine, I'm not too sure. The 8700K is kind of showing its age a little bit these days, I think, but it's still a great chip. Whether or not you're going to do an RTX 4070 Super justice at 1440p, certainly games like Counter-Strike 2, which is more CPU intensive, you might start struggling a bit. I don't know. It's a tough call. It's not going to be like a, no, it's going to be rubbish, but I think there's going to be some instances where you might find it struggling slightly. Dave Hunter says, if the power cost of a GPU is significant, maybe use an Abacus instead. Not far off that. Kaiser Solo said the 4070 did feel less of a card. Yeah, I think the 4070 Super, when I tested it, I actually was really impressed with that. And I think the 4070 Super is probably the one of the entire stack which seems to have the most improvement for the money. But it's a really difficult thing because like the 4080 Super is a lot cheaper, but I still don't think it's cheap enough to make it worth going for. It's sort of £799 or whatever it is. It's still, I don't know, it's a hell of a card. Hell of a card. Sorry, no, £1,969, isn't it? For the 4080 Super. I'm getting the 4070 Ti Super confused. Yeah, it still just blows my mind how expensive these graphics cards have become. Especially when you think of, what, 4 years ago, 2060 Supers, which were like a pretty decent card. And they were, what, £270? New? It's mental. Absolutely mental. Now, a 4060 is, what, $350? I'm not too sure, I haven't looked at them recently. Ian. Oh no, wrong one. Ian Sugden, there we go. What's the best software to control my fans? Motherboard. All fans are on a hub plugged into the motherboard. Personally, it depends what motherboard you've got. If you let us know what motherboard you've got, I can probably give you some advice. If you're going to say you've got an MSI motherboard, then I'm probably going to say go with MSI Center, because for me, I think it's just a much easier way of doing it. I use it still on my desktop PC, which I use every day, and I find it to be absolutely fantastic for what I need. Maybe fan control might be an option as well. That is a decent piece of software, but I don't find fan control to be quite as intuitive. Now, I see a lot of people use it and they find it to be very easy, but I find it that depending on the motherboard you're using, on the setup, it doesn't always identify the fans or certain headers on the motherboard the way you'd expect them to. So if you've got a slightly more simplistic motherboard with few headers on it, then it's probably going to be great. But if you've got a board with a load of different headers on there, you might find it a little bit more taxing to get everything kind of tweaked to your liking. Hugh Luttrell, hi, has anyone used Mini Tool Partition tool to change recovery partition to fix Windows Update on Windows 10? I'm not sure if I even understand that question. Mini Tool Partition Wizard to change the... I'm trying to work out what you're trying to do there. So are you saying that your Windows recovery partition is corrupted, so you cannot do a Windows recovery from like the safe mode type menu? I'm not too sure what it is what you're saying there, or what you're trying to achieve. Dutch Jan says fan control in the BIOS. Fan control in the BIOS is actually quite good, but if you like a little bit more kind of granular control whilst you're in Windows, I generally set mine up in the BIOS first. You've all seen videos on this anyway. I've set it up in the BIOS first of all, just so I've got my kind of baseline readings of how I want it to be. And then when it loads into Windows, I then use the like MSI software or ASUS software to then go ahead and kind of just tweak it slightly if I find that maybe the CPU's ramping a little bit more than I would expect it to. John Grammaticus. Good evening, Mike. Here's one question for you. Here we go. Brace myself. One question. What are the survival chances of a GPU that's been doused in Red Bull and the PSU got it in well? I got it as well. Sorry, I couldn't help but chuckle very slightly there.
It should fly along with those wings.
I would say the first thing to do is to remove the parts, and with the PSU I would probably leave it somewhere hot or warm or near an air conditioning unit. If you work somewhere where they've got decent air conditioning, put it somewhere next to the air conditioner and hopefully you will get the majority of the moisture out of the unit. With the graphics card, I'd be tempted to take it apart straight away and remove as much as you can. Use something like IPA, isopropyl alcohol. If you can't get hold of that, get something else which is like an alcohol-based cleaner. Maybe buy yourself a tin of contact cleaning spray and just blast the whole thing over with that. Worst case scenario, it's probably not a great idea, WD-40. and just give it a whole thing a really good blast, clean the whole thing off, remove all the thermal paste and all that kind of stuff, and then leave it to dry off for maybe a day, depending where you are. If you're in like somewhere hot like Australia, just leave it out in the day sun and it'll burn it off anyway. But as long as it doesn't get in there too much and you remove as much of it as possible early on, you're probably gonna have a fighting chance. The trouble is with things like Red Bull is because it uses sweeteners and stuff, and those sweeteners, they, even in your body, they become quite acidic in your stomach. So
Cleaning floors.
yeah, I've used them for cleaning floors. Literally, when I worked in the BBC with CAF, we had some concrete floor and it got some grease on it, and I tried everything possible to clean that concrete. Nothing would touch it. I poured a can of Red Bull on it, left it for a couple of hours. I came back, the top surface of the concrete had gone to white powder. I wiped it.
Taking the paint off.
It had taken the top layer of the polished concrete off, but it got rid of the greasy spot. So it can be super good for cleaning, but it's gonna corrode and it's gonna dissolve what it touches. So yeah, it's pretty nasty stuff. I would get it off of there as quickly as you can. Ugly Bob says, Ugly Ball gives you wings and sparks. Is it going to cost you?
Hell's Gate is explaining about Hughes, but I don't know.
Hell's Gate. Oh, right. Right. William Bodie is saying, I'll click on that because I've just noticed that one. So many people have problems to update. Me too. 2024-01 security update for Windows 10 version 22H2 for Windows x64 based systems. A Windows update for big partition January. Ah, yeah, I think I have actually seen this. I can't remember what the fix was for it. I have seen this mentioned. That's right, there's a manual fix you can do, isn't there? Where you can change something in the boot INI or something. You can change the physical size. I'm not too sure. I would have to do some investigation on that. And I might even try and make a video on that on Monday. See if I can get that done. But we'll have to investigate it first.
That's what Liz works for.
That is what, yeah, I'm at work tomorrow in the shop, so I'll do some research whilst I'm supposed to be working. Jackson Yendall. Hey, Mike.
Sorry, Muck Tony above.
All right, I'll do Muck Tony after. Don't let me forget. Jackson Randall. Hey, Mike. Hope you're doing well. Not too bad. Thank you very much. How are you doing? Do you have any suggestions for bad ping on a Wi-Fi card? Works perfectly on Ethernet, but either frequency on Wi-Fi on my PC ping is in the hundreds of milliseconds. There are various things you can do to improve your latency of Wi-Fi. Not all of them are simple. So depending on what your Wi-Fi card is or what type you've got, if you've got a USB one, the simplest thing you can do is to get a small USB extension cable and try and route the actual antenna or the actual USB stick somewhere away from the PC. Because PCs obviously is basically a chunk of electromagnetic metal. So there's all kinds of frequencies going on there anyway, and metal panels and glass and stuff. So unless your router is directly in line of sight with the actual dongle and it's facing the right way, then chances are it's going to get some interference from the PC or the case itself. So ideally get an extension of some sort, try and get the antenna further away from the PC. Ideally, if you can, more towards the actual router, depending where it is, or your access point that you're using. Other things to take into consideration is if you have cordless telephones like landlines, they use the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum. If you've got a microwave oven, that also uses 2.4 gigahertz spectrum. If you've got anything like a Google Home Mini, any smart devices such as light switches.
I've got a TP-Link PCIe Wi-Fi card. I guess I could get antenna extenders.
Right, yeah. If you've got a PCI Express card, then you're basically screwed, because the antennas are going to be literally at the back of the PC, probably pushed up against the wall as well. And so if you think your antenna's there, you've got your PC there, and you've probably got like a brick wall or some sort of wall there. So the antenna's basically kind of bing, 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 bouncing the signal off the PC and the wall, or trying to penetrate the wall or the PC case to get to the signal. And that is going to add a lot of latency to the signal. So yeah, you can go online. What you want to find is SMA connectors, that's what they're called. And just get an extension SMA connector. You can screw another antenna into that if you wanted to, but yeah, just extend that connection from the back of the PCI Express card to even somewhere just on the top of the PC. In fact, I think I've got an example here that I can show you, possibly. Where did I put it? It's in here somewhere. Where is it? Actually, I don't know if it is here. Saying that. Ah, yes it is. Ow, bollocks. Excuse my French. So this was actually sent in from Ugly Bob. Bless his heart. At least I think it was. Yeah, it was. Sorry. A bit dusty. So this is a PCI Express card, but it actually comes with a quite a nice antenna. But this is the sort of thing you want to be looking for. So you've got extension SMAs. So that's your SMA connectors that screw onto the back. And then you've just got one of these which you attach your antenna to. And then of course with this you can kind of place it on top of your PC, stick it to the wall, do what you want. A little bit of blue tack on there, it's not very heavy, these sorts of things, so you could just basically stick it to a wall to get a better signal, depending where the router is of course. But ideally most of these things you want away from a wall, so somewhere where it can actually radiate a signal around. But yeah, that is the sort of thing you want. Jason Wood says, question, is it me or does the video FPS sometimes go low on this live feed of mics? It is very possible. OBS says it hasn't dropped any frames as of yet. Let me have a look.
The RGB one, Ugly Bob asked.
It is the RGB one, yes. I've got no messages in the stream health window, so it says the stream is healthy, so we don't appear to have had any drops as such that I can see. So it could be the Google's end, or it could be, I don't know, it could be your internet, I don't know.
Did you do McTony above?
No, let's do McTony. Hopefully that answered your question, Jackson. That's a great name, isn't it? Jackson Yendall. That sounds very American. Who was it? McTony?
Mm-hmm.
What was Asus?
I don't know. Can't remember now.
McTony Ward. Sorry. Eyesight isn't as good as it used to be. Question is, what do you think of Asus 650EE? I'm not too sure. Is that the Extreme Edition? I'm not too sure which model it is though, so you might have to clarify that. Or just put the full name of the motherboard, which I'm sure that is a motherboard. Deathstroke's with us, says Evenal. How you doing, Deathstroke? Is Deathstroke the plumber?
Yeah.
Yes. Deathstroke Zorn. Is that the same as Deathstroke on Discord? I don't know. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. I don't know. I get confused.
Right.
Too many names.
Patrick LaBelle.
No, it's not Patrick LaBelle.
No.
Patrick LaBelle's someone else altogether.
But Patrick's got a question.
Patrick's got a question. Let's see what Patrick's... Oh, there's a 199 come in from Jackson. Thanks for helping me, Mike. You deserve infinite subs.
That's a sticker then, isn't it?
Bless your heart. That is a super sticker. Thank you, Jackson. Is that an American name? I'm guessing not, due to the fact that you've just sent 199. That's very much English poundage. But it sounds like Jackson Yandel. Yeah, it just sounds like quite an American name. Like, I don't know, maybe something you'd see around the turn of the what's it called, when they had the Civil War and all that. Jackson. Jackson's a great name, isn't it? It's a first name. I love it. Awesome stuff. If we have another kid, can we call him Jackson?
I don't think we'll be having another kid. Maybe grandsons.
Although I think it's probably a bit late for fathering more children. I'm pretty sure there's going to be dust coming out soon.
Maybe the next one kittens.
Thank you, Jackson. I think sorry. I think the heritage is foreign, but I was born down south. Down south? I'm not sure what accent that was. Tony Ward. It is the Asus ROG Strix B650EE gaming Wi-Fi. There seems to be so many 650 boards. This is the only one with the ones that with the postcode. Yes, I would definitely suggest going for a board that has postcodes or some kind of post readout. I think that's a really good idea, especially on modern motherboards. It's very, very troublesome trying to find PCs problems if... Sorry, Charles.
I can't see it now. Sorry. Oh.
What's that?
Tony Ward's got a picture of you as his profile pic.
Oh, you nutter.
It's not really you. Have a look.
Who is it?
I don't know how people pointed out.
Which user?
Tony.
McTooney.
Oh.
I can't see it now.
Hey, look. It has a picture of Mike on his avatar.
Sorry about this. You go amongst talking about yourself. I'm going to see how Bob... Bob! Yes. When it comes to motherboards, I think some form of readout is beneficial. I am still of the opinion that I don't think you really need to spend a huge amount of money on a motherboard in order to get a good motherboard. Now, I've been really happy with the one behind me. That's the Asus TUF Gaming B650 Wi-Fi. And for me, it's been very, very stable, like ridiculously stable. You can tell how stable it is because it's still in there. I'm not a massive fan of Asus products in general, but I have to say, credit where credit's due, that particular one has been fantastic and it doesn't appear to have any downsides. Saying that, Lord will now strike it down with a bolt of furious vengeance via the AC outlet. No, it's still working. We're good. You didn't hear. I think it's a great board. Whether or not you need to spend that money on a Strix Extreme, I don't know. I think if you've got the money and you like the look of it and it suits what you need, then yeah, go for it. If you get the Extreme edition, then you get extra PCI Express lanes, or the ability to use more PCI Express lanes. So certainly that is beneficial if you want to add a ton of M.2 drives at some point, or some sort of capture cards, add-in cards, that sort of thing. Then yeah, I think it's a good idea if it suits you. If not, there are other alternatives which will be cheaper. But yeah, it's not a bad choice at all. Thank you, Kath.
Do you want any of these nicer ones?
No, thank you. Glenn says my brother's youngest lad called Jackson. Jaxnon. How modern. That is very good.
William asked, more cats. No, Poppy's been done this week.
No. Poppy's had her operation this week, so she has been dunk. She won't be having any more kittens. She's doing well. She's okay. She's got a big scar on her side, but she's okay. Oh, it's on the banner message. Of course. Cheers, Bob. I'll clear that. Cheers, Jason. Head like an orange. Thanks for that.
I don't think it was you. That's it.
Irie Wolfman at Mike. We have RGB and screens on fans, on hubs and screens on side cases, but we can't get good postcodes. Even some boards have RGB or screens, but still no error help. Yeah, it is a strange thing. You'd think, I don't know, I don't like it when PCs have loads of additional like panels and things. Deepcool have gone in like really heavy with all those kind of things, having LCD readouts on the side of it and all that kind of stuff. I understand it's quite nice to be able to see sometimes, but sometimes it's just a bit too much. I've got that little panel there on the side of the case, and it's really more for just covering up what was otherwise a blank area, really. It doesn't mean a great deal to me, other than in my specific use case, if I'm doing some benchmarks or something, I've got something full screen, like maybe Unigine Heaven or something's running full screen. It's quite nice to be able to just look to the side and see what the stats are. without having to have like an overlay window open. But for what it costs, whether it's worth it, I don't know. Tony says it's only 260 at a minute, which is a lot, but I don't plan on upgrading for a good 5 years. I've got a sneaking suspicion there's going to be a new AMD chipset out very soon. I'm going to slightly risk it because the 9000 series Ryzens are imminent, let's say. So it's not going to be a long time until they come out. So potentially, what am we giving that for?
Next question.
Oh, right, okay. Thank you. Buying an expensive motherboard at the moment might not be the best possible solution. Like with anything, it's going to be the same as like we have with graphics cards. It's like, well, when do you buy a graphics card? If you need it, just buy it. If you can wait, then there's always going to be something better around the corner. Unless, obviously, you're going for AMD. In which case, there may not be. I jest, before you all start hating me in the comments. I'm joking, honestly.
Michael Craig.
Michael Craig. Hey, Mike, sorry, not tech related, but what tea bags do you guys get? I need to pop out and get some. Always get techly and fancy something different. Well, that is what we are currently drinking.
I don't drink tea.
Kath doesn't drink tea, it's only me. So these are Clipper tea bag, natural, fair and delicious. 80 unbleached, plant-based, biodegradable bags of organic fair trade tea. Fair trade tea.
I can read that.
Made in Dorset. Born in Dorset. Clipper is a different type of tea company dedicated to making the best tasting tea. We only use the highest quality sources. Anyway, yeah, that's what I'm drinking. Actually, not bad.
And then above that, Mark Berry.
And it actually tastes alright cold as well. I quite like cold tea, to be fair. Mark Berry, there we go, Mark Berry. I bought the ThickWatt NVMe drive, FN501. Out of stock, got upgraded to FN950. Price PCIe Gen 4 for the same price. £43, including shipping. Happy days. Very good. That is nice. I do like those ThickWatt drives. Kath, your slipper is laughing at me. Can you just throw those away? Kath's got these wrecked old slippers. They've got holes in them on the sides. The bottom bit is flapping like the sole.
That one's alright.
She's got about 17 pairs of slippers underneath our bed, which I generally trip over when the cats have been messing around with them. It's like, Jesus, just throw them away. This isn't a make do amend situation. This is just like you've got many.
They've got life in them.
Alexa says, Mike held the power button for a full 5 minutes. The boss is still asking for the password. What laptop is it? Aletta? What manufacturer?
Matthew Day said something is a bit more tricky than what you answered, I think.
Yeah.
That was ages.
Ugly Bob says AM5 Plus will be out soon. Mark my words. It will be. It's the 9000 series have been leaked already in terms of their performance IPC uplift, so it's only a matter of time. So we'll be getting, there's going to be 9000 series CPUs. So you've got 7000 series, which is current gen AM5. You've got the 8000 series, which is current gen AM5 APUs. And so there's no confusion, the new AM5 Plus, or they might call it AM5 Plus, I'm not sure, is going to be the 9000 series. And I guess if they do an APU version of that, it will be like the 10,000 series or something bizarre.
Here's what I found.
Thank you for that. Anyway, there we go. Glenn says he normally has Tetley or Scottish blend. I've got some Irish blend. When it comes to Kath's coffee, Kath pushes out the boat and gets the Tesco's Stockwell House. Oh, sorry, Stockwell & Co. Which actually there's somewhat of an irony to that, because the school that Kath and I both went to actually used to be known as Stockwell Hill School. And there is an area near us called Stockwell. So, all these things circular.
What's that, 81p a jar?
80.
It might have gone up to 90.
Yeah, it's less than £1 a jar.
It's doubled. It used to be 50 when I first started getting
William Bodie says, Mub needs more cats to use the Jackson name. Uncle Mike will take care of them, calf. He loves cats. William, gonna ban you. I'm joking. John says, it's a godsend to have a postcode, but paying 330 quid for the Meg Ace X570 in 2022 wasn't worth it, really. The postcode things are nice, and I like the fact that the postcode generally, after Windows is booted, they do often show like the CPU package temperature, which is actually quite a handy thing to have. But again, unless you're looking inside your PC, you're probably not going to notice it a great deal. If your PC's like right next to you on the desk, cool. But otherwise, it's probably going to be a bit weird. James Miscellaneous is with us. How you doing, James? Oh, I've just gone too far. Did a letter answer? No, not sure. Irie Wolfman says, can't beat a cup of Lion's Gold tea. Glenn says, Clipper named after the ship, maybe. Quite possibly. Well, Bill, Yorkshire tea is the only good tea. Yorkshire tea is actually quite good. Well, I don't mind that. Dutch Jan says, beer is the only good tea. Oh, dear. David Nerdell says, Gigabyte B550MK Micro ATX AM4, good, bad? It's not necessarily bad, but it depends what you're using it for. The Gigabyte, kind of the M-Ks, any of those kind of range of boards, the -K boards, they're done to fit a certain price point. So they're not going to have the greatest of features on them. They're probably going to have a relatively weak VRM, but if you just want a cheap and cheerful PC and you're not going to be stressing it too hard, they're absolutely fine. They're very popular. In fact, the videos we do on a lot of the kind of lower end boards like that, or entry level boards, actually get really good views. They do seem to have a lot of interest. Maybe it's because a lot of other YouTubers don't cover those boards, maybe, I don't know. Irie Wolfman says, is that the new Mac Mini? Yes, it is. Unfortunately. Stuart says, my wife is the same, hates wasting anything. Alessa says, Acer Aspire A51546R3UB. Right, okay. Aletta, just for you, I will find the website. Down the wrong way? She's been throwing chocolates down her mouth so fast she's choking on them. You alright? Oh dear. Medic. Doing a search on my channel for BIOS is probably not going to be... let's try laptop. Fix or fail. No, don't want those. HP. Acer BIOS password reset free. There we go. Right, so let me grab that and at a letter.
We did have these from Ugly Bob.
Yeah, pass them over.
As well.
Yeah, Bob sent those because he's good taste. Sent over
like
the clippers. So these are the I think these are the lesbian tees. Is that what they call them?
Yeah.
Yeah. They I joke. This is what we used to work with a guy called Mitch, and
let's just stop there.
Yeah, let's take that. We'll stop this. We'll rewind. So yeah, different herbal teas for various purposes. You got zingy and warming, fruity. You got the tea, the nighttime one to help you sleep. That one's got the drugs in. You got the ginseng and ginger. I think that's ginseng and ginger. It doesn't actually say what's in them, does it?
Out your dust.
Yeah, that'll blow the dust out. Mint. That's mint tea or green tea. Cleanse with benefits. Organic infusion. That is chamomile.
You'll be cleansing as you.
And this one, the snore and peace. That's
the longest tea going.
I think it's got licorice in it. There you go. Thank you, Bob. Clipper almost makes lighter, also make lighters. They do. Clipper makes some fantastic lighters. Been using those for years.
You need a cup of tea?
Oh yeah, go on in. Hang on a minute.
Got to ask, that's what I was about to ask when I came in. Down in one. Down in one.
James Messina says AM5 Plus would denote a change to the socket. I don't know if it does it? Because AM2 Plus just added the ability to use DDR2 or DDR3, I think. Maybe there was extra pins on it, I don't know. The thing is, AM5 Plus could quite easily have a pin change, because if you look at the pinouts for the AM5 socket and also for the AM5 processors, there's an absolute ton of the pins which aren't even used. They're just NCs or not connected. So they could actually create an AM5 processor or AM5 Plus with additional pinouts requiring a new motherboard, but still keep to the same socket form factor quite easily. But I understand what you're saying, but I don't think it would, well, yeah, it needs a change to the socket in terms of wiring, but not in terms of the physical layout. Charles Ballard says, my current coffee is French toast flavoured. Wolfman says Stockwell. Yeah, it's not great. Alexa says thanks. I will. Bob says yeah. Let's be tea bags. There we are. Demonetised. Damn it. Thanks. I'll watch the video after the stream. Some of them you actually drink. Oh, I thought you just had to scratch and sniff. Wild Bill, a question to save us from this madness. Mike, is there any benefits of increasing the megahertz of your RAM? I have 4 times 16 gigabytes of 3600 mega transfers Corsair Platinum Dominator RAM RGBs on MSI X570X Carbon Max Wi-Fi. Is there any? There are benefits of increasing the frequency. There's also benefits of reducing the latency. So either way is going to be of some benefit in some respect. So some programs and some applications will prefer memory frequency. So faster the frequency, the faster it can do the job it's intended to do. Whereas some programs will prefer memory with a lower latency. So it doesn't particularly mind how fast the frequency is, as long as it reacts quickly, so lower latency. So really, in terms of the platform, 3600 is kind of the sweet spot for AM4, unless you can tweak the processors, like front-side bus type thing, or it's Infinity Fabric or whatever they call it. If you increase the Infinity Fabric so that it's kind of running basically 1-to-1, or kind of technically 1-to-2, because of obviously DDR is double data rate, so 3600 mega transfers is actually 1800. So the AM4 processor's sweet spot is generally between 16 and 2000 mega transfers, with 18 being kind of like the sweet spot that most will get to quite easily. So yeah, you could try running it at 3800 with the same latency. You may see improvements with that. Again, it's going to be one of those things that unless you're actually running some benchmarks so you can see the real numbers, you probably won't notice it a great deal. Although if you change the latency or the CAS latency down, you may actually feel that in Windows. But yeah, for most RAM, there isn't really enough headroom to just do simple overclocking steps. Like people like Glenn, who does overclocking like properly, takes time and effort. You can really dial in those settings and get Your latency is lowered, you get your frequency set, you can do like the Ryzen master tuning, so that everything just runs really nicely in sync, but it's going to take time and effort to get the best out of it. And it depends really if you are happy to invest that time and effort to get the most out of it, and whether or not the processor and the RAM and the motherboard that you've got are going to be able to kind of leverage those results from the system anyway. It all kind of has to work together. It's like having a car. You can't have a ridiculously well-tuned car and have like rubbish tires on it. That's probably not a great analogy, but hopefully you know what I mean. Tea, Earl Grey, hot. Kaiser Solo says they're not changing the socket, no chance. I don't think they will. They may activate a pin or two for the new chipset and the new processors. I would strongly suggest they won't. It's extremely unlikely. So I'm pretty sure that didn't AM2 processors or AM2 Plus processors work on AM2 boards as well? I can't remember. It's a very murky time. That would have been what, 2008, 2009?
Did you do Wild Bill's question?
Which was that question? Read it out. Oh, no.
Is there any benefits?
Oh yeah, just finished that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I've only just come back in.
That's right.
Michael Craig, could AM5 Plus just be a chipset revision?
Yeah, definitely could be. AM5, it may not be, AM5 Plus might not be a thing. Don't take the wording too literally, but consider it like an AM5 refresh. That's probably the better way of doing it. But generally, if you look at previous form, there have been some motherboard changes as we've gone from generation. So when we went from the 2000 series AM4, which was on the B450 chipset, when the new 3000 series came out, we had the new 500 series motherboards. Then they kind of stagnated for a bit and kept hold of that. But even then, a lot of the processors would still work. So like a brand new 5000 series processor can work on a 300 series board, like an A320 with a BIOS update. It's just not optimized for it. And I think that's probably what will happen. So the next range of processor will have something added to them. I think realistically, the 9000 series from AMD is going to have IPC improvements because it's the second generation of this platform. And I think it's pretty much guaranteed that there will be an AI processor built in there somewhere. I think that is pretty much a given, heading the way things have been recently. I think that's it's a safe bet. If the 9000 series processors don't have an AI accelerator of some sort, I will be very, very surprised. Domus Mark, question, Mike. How many PCs at the moment do you have? What are the specs of them? And the like button number seems to be low. Come on, Mub fans. Bless your heart. How many PCs do I have at the moment? I don't have that many built PCs. I've got parts and PCs that could be built, but realistically at the moment I've got the streaming PC, so that's the one behind me. So that's the AM5 7700 non-X version, 3600 Ryzen, what am I, Ryzen RTX 3060 Ti. Thank you, Kath. Head like an orange.
I didn't do it.
The video editing PC over there, that is the RX7800 with the Intel 13900K. I've got my laptop, which is behind me. That's an AMD, I think that is a 5500U mobile processor, AMD. And of course, I've got the Mac Mini running the latest ARM processor from Apple, the M2. Kath's PC is still chugging along over there, the Ryzen 5 2600 on a B450 socket with a GTX 1060, 6 gig I think. Yep, 6 gig. That's kind of it. Not many other PCs. I've got a couple of other PCs. I've got a mini PC, which we had sent in for review, which is was Angel's Christmas present, which she still hasn't taken out of the box yet. So it's basically February, and she still hasn't opened her Christmas present. But she loved her TV so much, and it had smart features in, so she don't really need a computer anyway. So I might buy it back off her, I don't know. She might use it one day. Other than that, that is pretty much it. George got a PC, and I got parts for a PC. There's a PC for sale in the front room. So there's a few computers here, but nothing outrageous. Right, Parody Gamer. I have an AMD 5800X with the MSI Mag A850GL PSU. I want a new graphics card and wondered if the 7900XTX or the 4070 Ti Super would be okay with the PSU, or would I have a bottleneck with the CPU I have? No, 5800X I think would be okay with either of those. Depending on what you want, the 4070 Ti Super is going to use less power. I'm not sure of the actual recommendations. I think it's, what's it, 320 watts, I think that is, total ball power. The 1700 XTX is a little bit more than that. I think that's 385, somewhere in that region. So you should be okay with 850. I think you'll be alright. David Aikens with us. How you doing, Dave? Good to see you. Thanks for dropping off some timber earlier.
Thanks for giving me the wood.
William Bodie says, people here in Germany are starting to give back EV cars because it's BS. It's, yeah. The writing has been on the wall for a while for that. Where did I get to? Oh yeah, there we are. Skystalker's with us as well. I forgot to say that earlier, did I? Or did I? No, can't remember. David Underhill, creating a upgraded AM5 socket just needs a previously NC pin being used as a sense pin if CPU sees send signal on that pin. Other than that, it tells motherboard it's the better AM5 plus CPU. No worries. That is absolutely right. Mark Berry says, the cost of petrol is cheaper than electric, so not surprising. Matthew Day says, the AM2, 2 Plus, 3 Plus was a complicated journey. It was. It was. James McSlane says, the CPUs are Zen, the sockets are AMX. I'm not sure what. I don't understand that, I don't think. Do I? It's been a long day. I mended my refrigerator today. Trevor Mundell. How you doing, Trevor? Hi, Mike Caff, and good evening. I mistakenly force pull my processor by not lifting the lever. I replace it in the replacement motherboard, but it's not coming. Is it damaged, Trevor? Hard to say, but in theory, well, I'm hoping it's an AMD processor. If it's an Intel processor and you've managed to force it out of the socket without lifting the lever, then I dread to think what's happened to it, because that's like round peg square hole type scenario. As long as the pins aren't damaged, then it should be okay, I would have thought. I would check the pins to make sure there's no bent ones. Wild Bill, do you think AMD will go back to pins on the CPU? Not a chance in hell. As much as I would love for that to happen, I don't think that's going to be a thing. Because AMD have got basically nothing to lose here whatsoever. Like, AMD are a pretty strong contender in the CPU market for sure. So if motherboard manufacturers turn around and said, look, the RMAs on these boards is just ridiculous, we cannot keep up with it, there's so many bent pins on here, AMD are going to be like, well, that's kind of your problem. We've got plenty of processors, we've got lots of board partners, so if you don't like it, maybe don't make motherboards for us anymore. And they've got the same thing with Intel, because Intel have got the same socket layout pretty much and the same pins. So it's like motherboard vendors are like, well, we're basically pretty screwed. And they've been experiencing it with Intel for a lot longer anyway, since like, what, LGA 775, I think, was the first pin type socket. There might have been one before that, but I don't recall one. There maybe was. Was LGA 775 the first one? Or was there, no, there was, yeah, 775 was the first one, and it was the 1135, I think. So, yeah, it's been, what, since around about 2000, 2002, the LGA's been about. For Intel, anyway. So, no, I don't think that's going to happen. Matthew Day says I have at least 3 PCs under construction. That doesn't surprise me. Kiefer Mercer. Hey, really enjoy your channel and content. Thank you. I've bought RAM, Vulcan 2x16. That isn't on the QVL list for the motherboard. To be honest, QVL lists aren't like the law. QVL lists are essentially lists that have been compiled because the motherboard manufacturers have had that RAM, they've taken it in, they've sampled it and tested it. Now, there's an awful lot of different types of RAM on the market from hundreds of different companies, thousands of different varieties, so they're not going to test them all. And for some RAM, it's going to be relatively low sales volume, so they think, well, why bother testing it? So ultimately, I wouldn't worry too much that your RAM isn't on the QVL list. As long as it works and is stable, that is the main concern.
They've put in their specs down the bottom more.
Oh, right, okay.
If that helps.
But you didn't say whether you're actually having a problem with it, or... conflicting information whether it will cause issue with posting. No. It's... A QVL list is like a safeguard. So if it's on a QVL list, it's guaranteed that it has worked with that BIOS version that they've tested it with. Realistically, with all DDR5 now, especially on AM5 platform, go in, turn on context restore, turn on power down enable Expo or XMP, and in 99% of cases you're going to be absolutely fine, especially with newer BIOSes. Dave, what are you doing? Dave is chewing my shoes.
Dave!
Kev2427, how you doing? Matthew Day says, I'm having GPU bottleneck anxiety. What would go well with a 7500F? To be honest with you, anything. There's not really going to be anything which is going to struggle with a 7500F. The 7500F is effectively a 7600, and the 7600 is actually a very strong processor. Most people don't need more than a 7600. And I would very comfortably put something like a 7800XT or a 4070 Ti Super with it, maybe even a 4080. I can't see there be any problems at all. The weird thing is, most people who buy a 7500F, because it's such a low-end budget processor in terms of cost, they're thinking that maybe it's like, well, maybe RX7600, RX6700, maybe 6800. But no, it's fine. You can use that with pretty much anything. It's a strong processor, especially for gaming.
Dave Egan is chewing my shoes. Dave!
Wayne Taylor, 6 PCs, 27 servers, NAS SAN in 2x42 RU racks. Chia mining. Bloody hell. How is Chia mining these days? Is it still relatively strong, or? I've not been looking at Bitcoin or any of the kind of crypto coin minings for a long time. So I have no idea what's going on. James, thank you for that. Yeah, don't worry, my brain is baked from last week. I actually fixed... Hi, Dave. Keyboard off. You alright? This is Dave. He is one of the many, many cats we have here at Shea Mub. Chat. Chat Mub. He lives in La Chat.
It's a cat, isn't it?
Mark Berry says the UK government will be slapping a tax on EVs soon. They've already said that there is going to be additional parking charges for electronic vehicles or EV vehicles in NCP car parks and basically other car parks around the UK for their increased, what was it, the wear and tear, because them being heavy and stuff. Kev2427, is there a way to test if a motherboard is working without a CPU? No, not really. You can test that it will use power. If it's got a USB flashback on it, you could do that and see if the USB flashback initializes. That's probably about the closest you're going to get to actually working out if a motherboard is working or not. Excuse me. Dave, that is Apple Mac. Please feel free to take a shot on it.
Did you see how you walked away from it?
It's like, ooh. Oh God. Why is it I scroll 2 lines and it just moves all over the place? Right.
Tech Soul says thoughts on Ryzen 7 5700X 3D.
Where is that?
Shia so. That's not the same question.
Mookie MC says Dave is my favourite. Yeah, he's pretty cool. Dave! Dave! Dave, come here. Come on.
Get that sweet again here. Come over. Just drop it.
Dave!
Just drop it.
Sweets. Chocolate. Dave! Wait.
See? That's how you get him over.
Dave! Come here. Come on. Come here. Dave, look, there's you. You're on telly as well, look. Come on. Yeah, if I clear that away, you can see more. There's Dave. Dave! Say hello to the people.
He did, didn't he?
He did a bit. Good, Dave. No, don't play with the plug. That's an Apple Mac plug. It's very expensive. Thank you. You won't like those. It's chocolate. Well, you do want them. What do you think?
He just wants to play. Now this one is empty.
Right, you furry thing, go away. Right, where was that question? Dave wants a PC case, he can't fit in that. That's true. Rick H says the only mining I do is Minecraft. Oh. John says, funny when people call their cats Clive, Dave, Keith and the like. It's even funnier because our next door neighbour is actually called Dave. So in the summer when Dave's in the garden, both Daves are in the garden, when we shout at one Dave, it's going to be so funny. Because he's quite often, you go outside, because he's an elderly gentleman, so he'll go out in the sun, do a bit of sunbathing, relaxing, fall asleep.
We don't know he's there because he's below the wall level.
He'll be let down on his Lilo thing, below the wall level. So he'll be like, Dave! And he'll be like, what? Oh dear. Looking forward to that.
They have met each other, so
yeah.
So he's aware. Who have we got now? We've got both of them in now. Come here, Oats. Oh, easier one to grab one. Here's baby Otis.
Wayne Taylor says, contrary to popular belief, Shia does not destroy hard disk drives or SSDs once plot is written. Very little activities on any media. Didn't know that. Nick Barnes says Molly is transfixed with Davey on the TV.
Right, Pops?
Dave, come on. Not Dave, sorry. Otis. Otis,
Ah, Dave.
come here. Come here.
Dave's doing a bit of cable management.
Dave, cable manage the cables.
Right, should we go down? Not by the camera. No, don't really do cable management. I got our Pops. Pops,
The Adventures of Milo and Otis. Oh. Poppy.
There's Candy.
There's Candy. Camera's got some weird lag on it tonight,
Where are
hasn't
they,
it?
Pops?
Something wrong with that camera tonight. I wonder if, because I've plugged the camera into an alternative HDMI port on the system, so I'm going to unplug it. There will be a brief loss of visuals.
I'll do that, Pops.
Let's plug it into the other socket, and where's my mouse gone? There we go. Main camera, HDMI 1, go to HDMI 3. There we go. I wonder if that's going to be any better, or is that still... Oh. There's some very weird colours coming out of that tonight. I have no idea what is going on. And it's weird because the overhead camera is running through the same system with the same settings. And that looks much more natural coloured. And that is what the colour of stuff is. But it seems the other one, the other camera, has got some bizarre colour thing going on tonight. Some shift or hue. Who is this hue you speak of? Candy! Otis, I mean. Gosh darn it. Right, let's have a look on the Discord and see if... This is your last warning, so if you want to enter into the giveaway. Now, the giveaway is effectively going to be for people in the UK. Now, the reason I say that is because obviously sending things to other countries, you got customs charges, taxes, and obviously increased shipping as well. So what I will say is, if you've entered and you're outside of the UK, we'll need to kind of have a look at the shipping, because if it's ridiculously expensive or it's like more expensive than AIO to buy, then we'll have to work something out. It did say in there, it's for the UK only. Was one or two people that said, look, I'm in France, can I enter? And like, we'll pay towards the shipping or something. I understand. It's very, very generous to offer. I think France actually, when we looked at the shipping, wasn't too bad. But obviously some countries are going to be prohibitively expensive because of taxes and what have you. So anyway, so at least you know. So if you haven't seen it already, this is our Discord. Oh, of course, I've messed that up. Desktop streaming desktop, device not connected. There we go. So that is our Discord, which for those of you that have never joined, you are more than welcome to do so. It's very easy to do. There's links pretty much everywhere. So all we asked for you to do is if you head over to this button here and just click on that. So as you can see, if you click on the thumbs up, you are basically in it. So currently there are 62 of you which have clicked on that. I'm hoping that the ones that have clicked on the other ones have actually clicked on this one as well. So don't click on these ones. Whoever's clicking on, who's that keeps on clicking on it? Just click on the darn thing.
Shouldn't you have names hidden?
Yeah, I should have names hidden, but I haven't got streaming mode on, so you can see the names. I should say as well, if you don't want your name shown on here, then, well, partly it's too late because I've already done it. But anyway, just so you know, that is what you need to do. Go into the giveaways channel, which is this one here, and you can go on here, click on that. So I'll give you lot a little bit longer. So if anybody else wants to get involved, you can do. And I think we'll do that in about 5 minutes. We'll go through. Now, because of, I was hoping there was a program that I could get which would go through and automatically pick out a name. Now, it doesn't appear, well, there is, but it comes with some security risks. So I'm not going to do that. So what I think I'll do is when we get to the end, I'll say, right, that's it, end of it. I will then ask Siri.
Or Or maybe, if there's enough likes, how many likes is on the video at that point? And
Yeah,
go for
but
that number.
yeah, but then people are going to want to unlike it if they're at the top of the list.
But they're not going to be able
Yeah.
to delete that many likes.
Mike's doxing live. That's the one.
Michael T says no love for the Aussies.
There's lots of love for the Aussies.
I love the accent. I've got Australian Siri.
There you go. Australian Siri. I'm going to have a... I don't even know if I want to eat this Hershey's nonsense. But I do feel like my blood sugar is a little low.
Something about rancid milk that they use.
I'm not even sure what this is all about. Hershey's. What is it? Hershey's Cookies and Cream. Tastes kind of like chocolate. A little bit. Anyway, what I'll do is, depending on how many people have been there, I will just basically ask Siri to give us a random number between 0 and the amount of people that have entered. And depending on what that number is, I will scroll from the top. The very first person will be number 1. And I'll go down all the way through the list until we get to the number that Siri has found. Hopefully, that'll be someone who's actually watching the stream. That would be great. But if not, we will contact you via the Discord to say, look, you're a winner, blah, 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 etc., etc.
Here's what I found.
James Mussolini says, I got a Mub hoodie from the UK with genuine flame cat hair on it. Vintage
You're
was a good
lucky you don't
purchase.
have it.
We should have charged extra for that. Rick H says, but I live in Antarctica. No, you don't. No one lives there. Not allowed to. Dave says, you should have an Aussie giveaway with a can of VB, meat pie, and a Vegemite sandwich. Nice. Dave Enner says, Hershey's are rubbish chocolate. Yeah, it's not ideal. It's okay. It's edible. Just about. Wayne Taylor says, Dave, you're describing my breakfast. Charles says, Mike, you do not toss down a Hershey's Cookies and Cream bar. You savour it. Mookie MC says, Cortana gives better numbers. Ivory Wolfman says, competition open to all in the Commonwealth. I'm not too sure what the Commonwealth is these days. I am somewhat ignorant to that particular thing. Charles says, stop. I'm losing respect for you. Stop dissing Hershey's. I think Hershey's... Isn't Hershey's like a bad company or something? Have I got that? Am I misunderstood?
I think they use rancid milk.
Hershey's PA. PA. Where's PA? What's PA?
Pennsylvania?
I was thinking it's Pennsylvania. Yeah.
I don't know.
No, if it's Pennsylvania, that's okay. Hershey Company. Hershey PA. Pennsylvania. Thank you. I like Pennsylvania. I think Pennsylvania is a cool place.
You know that? There's a place in there near us called that.
Ah.
Yeah?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is a Pennsylvania in very near us,
We're
actually.
doing that like I'm in a soundproof booth. Ah.
I was trying to read.
Pretending you're listening thing.
Useless trivia. Hershey, PA is the middle of the Amish farmland. Wayne Taylor says Cadbury all the way in Australia. I am somewhat of a fan of Cadbury chocolate.
It's not quite as nice now as it used to be.
It's not as good as it used to be, but it is still pretty
Nobody
decent.
wants you.
Mookie MC says it's a great company, an hour away from me. Ugly Bob says Bourneville in Birmingham. Bourneville chocolate, that's pretty good.
Oh, I
Catholic,
love that.
Let's stop talking about chocolate, making me feel hungry now. Right, I think I've given you all enough time. So let's have a quick look on the Discord, make sure I'm on the right screen. There we go. So, oh God, who's gone mad with all the bloody emojis on there?
Okay,
Oh, Ugly Bob, Ugly Bob, Ugly Bob, Ugly Bob, Ugly Bob, Ugly Bob and Caleb, and Irie Wolfman. Ugly Bob's done a Poe. Not seen those for a long time. Right, so there's currently 67. So, hey Siri, generate a random number between 0 and 67. You dumb ass. Hey Siri. Alright, do it on the phone then. Generate a random number between 0 and 68.
A random number between 0 and 68 is 25.
There we go, number 25. You heard it, so I can't fudge it. Let's do view reactions. So, how many did I say?
25.
25, so going from the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Number 25 is... Actually, am I allowed to show the names? Am I allowed to say the names out loud? Okay, I will... Well, whatever. Too late. The winner is Erper. So, Erper, you are the winner of the Sahara EX360 AIO kit. Congratulations. I wish I could actually show the screen, but I kind of can't. Because it's got everyone else's details and usernames on there and the extensions on it. There is a thingy mode I can do on here, but anyway. So, congratulations to Erper. You are the winner. Now that I've proved I can count. And let's do a... Oh, someone just sent me a friend request. And just said, hey. Try not to be too, yeah. Oh, tell you what, if I turn the keyboard on, the winner is at Erper. I got a feeling Erper was the one who actually asked about the French postage. Anyway, there we go. So, there we go. That is that done. Let's go back to the main camera. Oh no, I'm not on the main camera anyway, am I? Yeah, because you can't see that. That's what I wanted to see. I want to see the chat. Ban Ugly Bob on Discord. Sounds like a plan. Dear.
Did you put into this chat the winner is?
No, I just said it out loud. But you can do it. Should do it in the count voice. 1, 2, 3 AIOs. William Bodie from Fallout New Vegas. The game was rigged from the start. So yeah, congrats. Awesome stuff. The winner of the AIO is Erper. Or Ooper. So, we just messaged you on Discord. So, yeah, get back to us.
Did you message him?
I just said the winner. Oh, actually, no, I haven't.
Tagged them in it,
I've tagged them, but I haven't messaged them. I should do that, shouldn't I? Net, do you want to do it?
Can do.
Go on, then. That chocolate's made me feel rather bilious. Nothing to do with the half a bloody panettone I've put down earlier. Excellent stuff. Now I'm really tempted to do something now which I probably shouldn't do, but I think I would quite like to do. And that is, I do have another AIO here, which I could actually also do a giveaway on.
Give away?
Give away.
You said that really three-worded.
So, let me know in the comments, do you think I should do a second giveaway? So giving the people another chance? What do you think? Let me see if I have got one here. I'm sure I have. And no doubt Kath will be cussing me up when she has to go to the post office. Cussing me up, I sound just like your mum. Where is the other one? There he is. Right, excuse me, cats. Now, obviously, these are review units, so they may have had slight signs of usage. Okay, so they're not brand new, but they are, well, as near as damn it. Other than a few cat hairs, and we won't charge you for those. So I have also got here the InWin MR36 liquid cooler. So do you think I should give it a go? What do you reckon? Second giveaway? Skyzog says, do it, Mike. Yes, please.
Daddy, that's my feet.
Michael T says, excess PC parts plus lots of giveaways equals tax write-off. Win for all. Yeah, you're reading my mind. I better actually make sure that everything's in here, because I honestly not sure. So,
Save it for the next stream, give people a reason to turn up.
well, I was considering putting the title giveaway in the stream, but then by doing that, it kind of deters, well, it doesn't deter, but it encourages new viewers who aren't kind of part of our core audience, our regulars. I'd much rather give stuff to the regulars than I would people that just turn up just because there's a giveaway. Do you understand? Like, I don't care if we get 10 views or 10 million views. It doesn't bother me at all. Well, that would be quite extraordinary, but you know what I'm saying. I'm not doing this for the views. I'm doing it because, well, yeah, you've helped us to get here. You've been with us through the journey. Everything. I even kept the bag, so happy days. This is actually a very, very sexy looking cooler. But we will do it. So, we will.
So what's that different one?
This is the InWin MR36. So, let me grab the other one, because I've now got a space on my shelf. It's actually got the gold bars on it. That was a disastrous idea. Oh, DVI connector.
Where did I put that?
So that is the one that's going to Erper. Thank you, Bob. Massive shout out for your help and support, as always. You're a lovely man. So that's going to go to Erper.
Oh, I forgot it came from Ugly Bob. Though he's allowed to put all these emoticons.
Yeah, Bob can put emoticons because he sponsors the giveaway, basically.
Candy, you know that's not this one. That's my.
Mookie MC says Mike needs to be more like Opera and give us all an AIO. You get an AIO and you get an AIO. You don't. Candy gets some cable management wraps from the 90s. Oh, that's a bit wet.
She's been chewing it. She's been putting it on my foot and then
No
attacking
shit.
my foot, pretending she's playing with her toy.
Bob really is the man. He certainly is. Right, we're going to do it again then. So, we're going to do another giveaway for this. This is the InWin MR36. This is actually a spectacular cooler, it really is. So,
She's been tipping her tea neck.
get off my keyboard, goddammit! Bob just checked. Yep, I'm a man. Oof. So, I need to go back over to this screen. So, has there been any more entries? No, we're still the same.
There's 68 now, I think, isn't there?
There is 68. So I've now got to do the magic other number. Right then. Hey Siri.
So what are we going to say if Erper wins this time?
If Erper wins this time, we redo. It's a do-over. Oh, I didn't want to open the camera. That scared me then. Hey Siri.
Hey Pops.
Please generate a random number between 0 and 69.
68.
Why is it not saying it out loud? Right. The random number is 33. Can you see that? Very, very, very satanic number. So, I'll go through this again now. I've got to do the count. Why can't it do like
Yours
one?
counted like different from mine.
What's that? Oh, what, when I went down through the list? Did it?
Yeah.
Which did you do? Show, yeah, but you do... If
I
you
did.
do
I
view
did
reactions...
Click, and
Yeah.
then 64 others.
Yeah, you're only doing the others. You're not doing the other 3 that are listed already.
Okay.
You have to choose view reactions. Right, so I'm going to count from the top again. So what do I say? 33. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I should have said it's 10 a page, shouldn't I? That'd be easier.
But it's not really.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19,
Okay.
20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26,
That's food.
27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. So the lucky Discord member entered number 33 is Andy2715. So Andy2715, you are the winner of the InWin MR36 RGB cooler.
Get in touch.
So yeah, get in touch.
'Cause I've seen him in the chat, but he might not be there now. Type it in so you know.
I've got a sneaky suspicion he's in Bristol. I think. Sorry, doxed. I'm not very good at this live streaming, Lark. Sorry. So I will put that in there now. So runner up prize in win MR36. Is that 36? Yeah. Goes to at Andy2715. Oh, what have we done here? And there we go. So, can you message Andy as well, please, Kath?
Yeah.
Bless your heart. There we go. I'm not sure if he's in Bristol or not. I speak to so many people that it just gets confusing.
Mike doesn't even know where I am.
I don't even know Kav's in the same room at times.
Yeah. And guess what came up on my Amazon this morning? You might like to buy a
Soundproof booth. Soundproof booth. Can't beat it. Right, there's another AIO down here. Well, I'm not giving that away currently. I might save that for next week.
Alexa says, thanks very much for your help, Mike. Bios Blair, TPM disabled insulin limit.
There we go.
Thanks for that.
Happy days. Glad to help, Aletta. That's what we're here for. Kind of. Sort of. There, I've got somewhere to put my feet now. Let's move that up to there. Happy days. Another bloody keyboard. Awesome stuff. Made some room. Bristol equals South Wales. Yeah, that's right, yeah. No worries, Aletta. That's a great little video, that is. Actually, that video's done really well for us. In fact, we've got... there's only one of our videos on the channel which has actually done over 1 million views.
1.5 million now.
Well, almost 1.5 million. And the second highest one is like 4,000 views away from hitting 1 million. So I'm quite excited about that.
We've got 2 in the 900,000s, and then the rest are sort of 600,000 or 5.
Hugh Luttrell says, I can't understand why you have so few views. Besides all of the computer info, I like to hear all of the English language, a lot of funny comments. There is kind of a reason why we get low views. Well, there's a couple of reasons actually. One is the time of day. It's an absolute terrible time of the day to do a stream in the UK because it's Saturday evening, it's late, so most people are either socialising, out drinking, or doing what they would normally be doing on a Saturday night, so playing games all that kind of stuff, meeting up with their spouse, partner, whatever, all that kind of stuff. Also, even though we've got like over 100,000 subscribers, not all of them are into tech. Some of them just came along because they found the channel because there was a helpful video like how to set up their printer or how to set up their Fitbit, something on their phone where they couldn't find out how to do something or other. So not everyone that watches or has watched the channel is into tech. Now on a monthly basis, we get somewhere in the region of 1 million views a month. Every single month, roughly somewhere around sort of 900,000 to 1 million views a month. So we're still getting an absolute ton of views, but we're getting it because people are coming to find us to get information. So they may not want to stick around. They may not want to be part of a community. And that is absolutely fine, because right from the very get-go, it was never my aim to make a community. It was just to try and help people, because I've always been that person that needed help to do stuff myself. So it's nice to be able to actually do something where I could do something which I felt was needed.
And you give back.
So that is kind of it. If people come back to the channel and want to hang around and be part of our Discord or a kind of core community, that's absolutely fantastic. But I also understand that a lot of people have got their own real lives, and Saturday night is somewhat sacred for them, their families, their kids, whatever. There's also obviously people go out clubbing, there's football, so many other things which are just distractions. So if it was like during the midday here in the UK, sort of 12 o'clock to maybe 3 o'clock, something like that, the views would be significantly stronger. And also a lot of the other people around the world who are part of our community, this stream time is also really bad for them as well, because in Australia it's like super early in the morning. I think in Canada they are mid-afternoon.
My letter's 3:15.
So yeah, in America it's kind of like middle of the afternoon. So like in a lot of places, middle of the afternoon, you don't really want to be sat in front of your computer watching a stream because you got stuff to do.
At 3 o'clock.
No, for here it would be traditionally for that time of day, but in other countries, like especially if it's warmer places, you won't be stuck inside, do you, watching the stream? Anyway, there you go. We're quite happy. The numbers don't ever bother me. They've never really been a consideration, to be honest. Just do what I do. If you enjoy it, great. If you don't, that's great also. Rick H says the stream starts here at noon. Sorry, 12:15. Yeah, sorry. Well, probably more like 12:17 or 12:18 because I'm always late.
Sorry.
David says try watching Sunday morning. Exactly. So it's a very bad time. But we've kind of got into the point. I think it was best, or it peaked when COVID was about, because nobody was doing anything. Everyone's locked down. So it's like, well, what are you going to do? And at that point, we fit into a really nice time spot because you couldn't go to the pub, you couldn't go to the park, you couldn't go swimming or whatever it was you could do. So we had like pretty much a captive audience. So the numbers were significantly stronger. And also, I guess as well, then there's a lot of people that are watching that maybe are watching on other devices which doesn't show up on, which is a possibility. Or you're watching it in the catch-up. Normally the streams after they've been on 24 hours or so, the numbers are significantly better. Super chat come in from Domus Mark, thank you very much, with 140 ZAR. I still don't know what they are. ZAR.
You say that every week.
I know I say it every week and I still can't remember. Thank you very much. Dom says, guys, there's much more of us watching than the like button is showing. Please show some love for Mike and Kath. Thank you, Dom. Thank you for the kind donation. It is much appreciated. Aletta says, I'm sitting in front of my PC gaming in the day and writing all night. This live stream is the closest thing to a break for me. It is. I think that's what a lot of people use this sort of content for, because in the more modern times, the traditional television in the corner of the room with your normal terrestrial or digital channels on is becoming less and less of a thing. Or like 20, 30 years ago, Christmas Day, you'd have the whole family in the living room, sat around the TV, watching Noel's Christmas Family Accidents or whatever it would be, Mr. Blobby, or the Queen's speech, the Bond movie, all that kind of stuff. That was tradition. But things have changed. Everybody's got their own little devices and they go off and do their own thing. So it's a really different kind of world we're in now. I don't know where I was going with that thought.
Brain dead Chris.
That sounds like me. South African Rand. Thank you, Ugly Bob. And David. Charles says we have 4 time zones in the US from Pacific, Mountain, Central and Eastern. I'm Central and your stream starts here at 2:15 p.m. Thank you.
Can you do Brain Dead Chris?
Brain Dead Chris. I upgraded my GPU from an RX7600 to an RX7800 and now my CPU 5600X runs hotter. Sometimes 85C under load. Is that normal? Yeah, because what it is, your processor now is being asked to do more. So you're going to see a significant jump in frame rate in your games. So if you wanted to counteract that, you can always cap the games to a lower frame rate. So your processor doesn't have to try and throw as much towards the graphics card. Previously, you'd probably find that your graphics card was the more limiting factor. Whereas now the swing has moved a little bit. So now the 6800 is saying, well, okay, let's see what you can do. And is asking for a lot more raw information to be sent. So yeah, that is quite normal. What you could try doing, if you wanted to kind of balance out the playing field a little bit, maybe, well, it depends on the game and game engine, but sometimes you'd find turning up things like anti-aliasing will slow down the graphics card a little bit. So it's not going to be asking for as many frames. That might readjust it. The 5800X for me always ran quite warm. Always in the 70s. So you could maybe try a little bit of undervolt on the 5800X just to bring the temps down if those are bothering you. Or just throw some drastic cooling at it, like a 360mm AIO. That will soon bring it under control. Don Bar. Hope this deep cool AK620. Decided I will get one. And the stream is buffering. Buffering. What's going on there? Nothing. Wonder. I think I know why the stream might be buffering. If it is buffering for people, because I've changed the encoder to NVENC H265. Which is a more compressed version than H264. Normally I use 264, so that might be what I've done. I did change that.
Somebody else put a question.
Stuart Clary says, the reason I came here years ago is to drink and tech banter. I drink only on Saturdays. Good for you. Have a blowout every now and then. I'm so gutted that I have to work on Sundays. Otherwise, I would probably spend Saturday streams getting absolutely toasted, which is probably not a good idea because I did back in the early days when this channel was much smaller. On a Saturday on the streams, I would get wrecked, and Kath would as well. No filters, no filters at all. Some streams we actually had to delete as soon as they ended because it's like, oh, I can't believe we said that. Right, delete. So some of them were really bad, but. Yeah, we learn.
Well, Sky Stalker probably remember these.
Yeah, Letter would have been around then. The Sky definitely, I think. No worries, Brain Dead Chris. Enjoy your new graphics card. That's what I've got. 6800X. Sorry, the RX7800 non-XT in my PC. I love it. It's a great card. Don Barr says I have a 5600X as well, and that is what I want the AK620 for. Yeah, you should notice a significant drop in temperatures with that. Well, depending on what you come from, but you should still notice it anyway. Ira Wolfman says, I missed the best bits, spent too long putting the kids to bed. Praise the Lord for Rewind.
Charles.
Yeah, that's a good point. Charles says there you used to delete streams because you were drunk. Then please explain last week's cosplay of Wizard and Genie Pixis wand. Genie Penis Wand. Yeah, it used to be a lot worse than that. Genuinely, it used to be a lot worse than that. That is one of the sad things. As you like back then, it was like, well, the YouTube's okay, but it's whatever. It's just a bit of fun. But when it actually is become look a little bit more serious and it's like it is a living, you kind of do have to consider that the kind of cancel culture that we live in. You do have to be really careful what you say, just in case that someone gets like properly offended. And we don't mean to offend anybody.
But
That is not in our nature, but sometimes
it's so censored now, which it wasn't back then.
yeah, like when we started like 5-6 years ago, whenever we did the streams, back then you could say pretty much anything, and it wasn't like being in the 70s, but it was kind of things were a lot more open, and you could say things, and yeah, it was just a very different time. Things have changed a lot in the last 3 years. Braindead Chris, so what would be a good cooler to go with the 5600X? It depends what you've got now and the airflow in your case. Now, to be fair, if you've got decent airflow in your case, you can get away with just a generic 120mm tower cooler. Something like the Thermalright Assassin PA120 SE. That will do fine. It's like 20 quid. Or if you want something a bit more upmarket, but of a similar sort of design, you go with like the Noctua NHUD12. I have to look around now. Well, that one, whatever that is. I think that, no, U12. Noctua U12. That does fine. That's on a 7700 and it does absolutely fine.
Dom's asked a question, but I don't. Do you think to return?
Dom, question, do you think to return after stream Discord video chat with members? I would like to do that. I really would. But unfortunately, because of working on a Sunday, doing the extra stream on the Discord is it's a little bit challenging. And the thing is, the Discord after stream chats were good fun, and because we were all drinking and having a bit of a laugh and playing games as well, like the what was the games? Jackbox games. It was a bit of fun, but it got to the point where after the streams, it would just talk about the goings on in the world, and because we were in the midst of the thing that happened, there was lots of opinions and things, and it sometimes got a little bit heated. And it's like, do I really want to go down that? So I don't know. We might do. The Jackbox games, I think at some point we'll definitely have to do again, because that was good fun. Atomic Sub says the Thermalright Phantom Spirit is the best. Yeah, I think that's a pretty decent choice. It does depend on your case and airflow. Realistically, it's like anything. If you put even the best of coolers into a case where there's no airflow, it ain't going to do any good. So the case and the airflow is the thing you need to think about considering straight away. Just have a fighting chance of keeping any CPU cool with any cooler. Sky says, Mike, you are really not an offensive guy, but we do have to watch what we say. Seems people want to take offence more these days. I think it's a very much...
I don't think it was an offensive things we were saying. It's just things they will censor you on.
Yeah. People like to be offended, don't they?
I don't think it was things that were offensive or to offend anyone. It was just things you're not allowed to say out loud on the internet anymore.
Stuart says, it's not nice chatting with peeps if you're not drinking yourself. I think sometimes there is a bit of a disconnect as well. If you're the sober person, it can be a little bit challenging. Yeah, playing the games out, Jackbox games after the stream was nuts. A letter says if I offend anyone, it's on them. I don't give up. Like I said, I've never intentionally tried to offend anybody. But if something I says offends someone, then I apologise. But it's my opinion, and if you don't like my opinion, that's fine. You don't have to like it. And if my opinion offends you, then I'm sorry it offends you, but it's my opinion. I'm not going to give up my human right to have an opinion because it offends you. Just be offended and live with it.
Offend you if somebody had a different opinion to you.
I think that's the way it should be. Like, yeah, if someone offends you, it's life, isn't it? That's
you allowing yourself to be offended rather than.
Wayne says it's a different generation, bud. I think it is, but it's. I think it's not even. I don't think it's a generational thing. I think it's just a pure thing of understanding that we should all be aware. Like even earlier on tonight, when I was saying things about the 7800XT, I know for a fact there would have been people in the chat who are getting their heckles up because they are AMD fanboys, or they like AMD, or for some reason that brand or that card or that thing suits them, which is absolutely fine. I'm not offended that is your preference. And likewise, you shouldn't be offended that it isn't my preference. It's just my opinion. And yeah, no one needs to be offended, and no one needs to be upset. It's just, that is it. I may like to have funny coloured bricks on my wallpaper. You may not. That may offend you. Whatever.
Or bits missing below the table where the cats have eaten it.
Yeah. Mark Berry says, yeah, just because you're offended does not mean you're right, to quote Ricky Gervais. I think that's what it is in this. Like, comedy used to be about offending people. That was almost its primary goal. The shock value of saying something which was taboo was something which you would naturally laugh at as a nervous reaction. Not necessarily because you find it funny, but because they were breaking the boundaries of what was known to be taboo. Back in the in the 40s and 50s, if a man said something quite rude or something slightly suggestive, you would have the younger women kind of giggling quietly, because that was their reaction to that type of thing. They weren't necessarily offended by it, but it was the shock value. And nowadays, like, if you say something which is shocking, it's supposed to be to make you laugh or to make you think, not to make you offended, which I think people do get that way.
Don Barbets, you've got that Superman tattoo on your left shoulder. You're going to offend now.
I am not going to offend you, no.
You're going to offend now because you don't have a tattoo.
I do not have any tattoos for two reasons. One, I kind of like them, but on other people. It's not something I would have done myself. I did actually consider having the Superman logo on my left shoulder at one point, but that was only to copy someone. I think it was John Bon Jovi had it, and it was like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool, I like that. But I wouldn't do it because of pain for needles, and I'm not a massive fan of tattoos. And some people have them like covered head to toe in it. It's like, fine, that's whatever. It's not my thing, I wouldn't do it. But if people like doing it, that's cool. But I wouldn't do it myself. And I think if I had one, I'd then be tempted to have another, and then another, and another. And I think it would just go on, so I'll just not bother. Wayne Taylor says the way not to be offended, it's called the off button. Yep. And weirdly, very hard thing to find on a Mac Mini. Where is the on button? Nope, not on the front. It's not on the sides. No. Because where is the most obvious tactile place in the world to put a power button? Let me think. What is the exact opposite of the best place or the most tactile or most obvious place for a power button? Yes, it's on the corner. A tiny little thing. Although it is actually next to the power cord, so I suppose when you're actually looking for it and you get to the point of going to the wall socket and following the cable all the way back, it's like, oh, power button. Yeah, that'll do it. I said it earlier and I'll say it again. I think for a lot of these things, especially the Mac Minis, I'm not sure if Steve Jobs was alive when the Mac Mini when it actually came out. And I find it hard to believe that he was, because I don't think he would have given the go-ahead for it. I think the Mac Mini is actually, I wouldn't say it's ugly, because you can't really say it's ugly, because it is quite discreet. But it's just bland. It is bland, isn't it?
Bob.
Nice one, Bob. But that's, like, what is the point of that? It's, in fact, it's almost exactly the same size as that. It's a little bit narrower than a RTX 3060. I probably could store it in there, actually.
Keep it out of the way.
What a bizarre design. Like, you'd think at least to break up the front, an SD card reader, or a couple of front mounted USBs. It doesn't make a great deal of sense.
How does it fly like a
And
frisbee?
they're saying like you can mount them, and like on the bottom, in the plastic, which is supposed to kind of, well, stop it from touching the floor, it says Mac Mini embossed. Why would you bother? There's no logical reason why you'd do that.
Does it work as a frisbee?
There's no air intake on the bottom.
Like a boomerang that
Yeah.
comes back.
You'd think so. And I don't understand, there's a grill on the back for a fan, but all of that pushes out air. So I don't know where it pulls air in from. Now, there is a gap. So that ring around there is actually a ventilation gap. Okay, so cool air comes in from underneath. So actually that's a good reason why you can buy these docks which have got an indentation in them, so that it kind of locks in. But that would make it get hotter. So by actually not having a gap, it's better.
By
It runs
not
cooler.
having
Yeah, by not having the
not a gap,
by not having the indentation. Yeah.
because it wouldn't have a gap with an indentation.
No worries. Cheers, Sky. It's passive cooled. Well, no, this one's actually got a fan in it. There is actually you can actually hear it when it's on. There is a fan. It's very hard to hear, and it runs quite slowly, but there is actually a fan on the back. I thought they were supposed to be passively cooled. I think maybe the M1 is, but the M2 certainly isn't. You can hear there is a fan in there churning away. But yeah, it's an interesting device, the Mac Mini. I don't know, it seems like it's a weird hybrid of the iPad, the iPhone, and a Windows desktop, effectively. Because some programs are just installed from the App Store, very much like the Windows Store, and other apps you can download as you would normally from websites and install them kind of normally. So there's that weird kind of crossover where you're never sure if, like, is there a benefit of getting the apps from the App Store? Maybe in terms of installing and removing them, possibly. And in terms of uninstalling programs, I'll have to do some videos on this, because it's actually quite mind-blowing how, I wouldn't say convoluted, but to install a program is a very odd experience. Because you download an image file, basically, you then double click it, it then starts running and it mounts a drive. You can then copy something over to your applications folder, and then it's installed. It took me 3 attempts to try and install Google Chrome. Literally, I installed it and I was using it, and I signed into Chrome on my account. I was like, oh, I got all my shortcuts, cool. I was using it. I turned it off, restarted it, and it's like, well, where the bloody hell's Chrome gone? I've just installed that. And it still said that there was a Chrome helper.
Blew the air,
Yeah, I think I swore a little bit louder than that, but in a little bit different language. But yeah, it's just it's a very bizarre experience, because you don't really know. Well, you probably do if you've used it a lot, but you don't really understand if you have to manually put a program in your applications folder. And there's one part actually for Chrome. It shows the Chrome logo, like the icon, then it shows your hard drive icon underneath, and there's an arrow pointing down. So used to the Windows environment, it's like, okay, so I click on that, and that's going to put Chrome into the programs. That's what I thought. So I clicked on it, it disappeared, and I was like, oh great, it's done. Apparently, clicking on it doesn't install it. Clicking on it cancels it. You have to actually grab the icon and slide it down into the Macintosh file or folder, like literally like dragging an icon from one to the other, like when you put them in folders, for it to actually install. But it still carries on working in the background even if you didn't install it. And it's like, oh God, this does not make any sense. Anyway, it's very strange. Very, very strange experience. Anyone who is, I think if you've never owned a computer before, like a Windows computer, and you've always used an iPhone and then someone's thrown you in front of a Mac, you'd probably be okay with it. But coming from a Windows background and then trying to use a Mac is very kind of like, ooh, this is a bit jarring. It doesn't all make sense. But I will be doing some videos on it, definitely, because it's quite an interesting thing, I think, personally, how unuser-friendly it is compared with an iPhone or an iPad, which are actually really easy things to use. I use iPhone all day long. I have done for years. But making the transition from an iPhone and a PC to that, which is effectively a Windows desktop and an iPad desktop, you'd think it would be a lot simpler, but it isn't. Mookie MC, think you would be able to give away that Apple product in this crowd? Siri, give me a random number between 1 and 2.
A random number between 1 and 2 is 1.
Hey. Dave Under says, Rick H, I like apple pies. Wayne Taylor says, what genuine repair parts can I buy for any Apple product? I have no idea. I'm guessing there might be some.
It comes down a bit later. It's none at all.
No. Yeah, I think it's one of those... The Apple ecosystem is a very unusual one. And I've been... Because of buying this, I've been watching a lot more Apple videos. And it's almost like there is a... There's a kind of demographic or a type of person which does Macintosh videos. And that is actually something which I'm trying desperately to break the mold of. Because if you watch any Apple Mac videos... Cheers, Hellsgate. Thanks for a super chat. Yeah, if you watch any Mac videos, they've all got a very, very similar look to them. Like almost all of them.
You should wear a Flasher's Mac when you're doing the videos.
Yeah. So... Generally, most of them will have some sort of beard or a goatee or some kind of facial thing going on. All the videos have that very typical YouTube kind of studio look. Normally, if you look in the background, there will be a long strip light of a different colour. Most likely going to be with a blurred out background because they've set their f-stop on the camera down really low to get a nice background blur. They're going to have definitely maybe 2 or 3 point lighting just so the shadows are just right. And they're normally going to be using a Logitech MX Master mouse. I think that's almost guaranteed. And definitely they'll have IKEA furniture. That is also very much guaranteed. Oh, and probably a neon of some sort, normally with their channel name or a logo.
Brick wallpaper?
No brick wallpaper, because the background will be so blurred out you would not even see it. It would just be illuminated in a single colour, maybe. It's very much a stylized thing. It's actually quite funny, and if you look deliberately for that when you watch Apple Mac videos, especially like content creator ones like how to do XYZ in Adobe Premiere, or which is the best Mac, or how to set up your new Mac, all those kinds of videos. They're all very, very similar. I suppose it's like gaming channels. Gaming channels, very typical that gaming channel, you have the game full screen, little person in the corner. They will definitely have a microphone in front of their face so you can't see half of them. Definitely going to be wearing a big headset.
Little person in the corner.
A bit like that, yeah. Dave Under says, hipster crap videos is what you're trying to say. Yes. If you were to watch YouTube videos of Apple-based content, it's essentially as a hipster show. You're very likely to have, stand-in desks, but they'll never stand at them, but they will adjust them. And quite likely that they're going to have maybe a single-speed bike in the background. Oh, and definitely at some point, they're going to have a lamp, a filament lamp.
I'm drinking specialty coffee.
Definitely drinking specialty coffee.
Ugly bowl.
Possibly going to be wearing a plaid shirt as well, or a checkered shirt. That's very much going to be a thing. And they're probably going to be sponsored by, like,
QuickBooks.
Yeah,
QuickBooks. Is that a real thing?
Something like QuickBooks or NordVPN, or what's another one that's quite common with Apple videos? Surfshark.
A succulent is on the desk.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a succulent plant on the desk, 100%. Nose piercing, maybe. Beard, it's hipster central. It really is.
At the BBC, I didn't even know what a succulent was. I was asking everyone, and nobody knew what one was.
Yeah. No.
I was going, I've heard of succulent steak, but what plant is a succulent? But I know now.
Let's tell you, you're absolutely right. That is the Apple way. Vegans riding e-scooters looking like a 40-year-old kid. That's pretty much it. Yeah, there could likely be an e-scooter in the background. It is, yeah. Probably having a skinny latte or chai latte. I shouldn't take the mickey, because to be fair, a lot of them do actually a very good job, and like they are really good.
Mike would still be not using Google.
Yeah. If it wasn't for them, I would still be on Safari, and I'd probably be still. Now this actually, did I say this earlier in the video about the scrolling? I did, didn't I?
Yeah.
How can they get it so wrong that you plug in a mouse to your Mac, and for some reason the scroll is inverted? That just seems like the most bizarre thing in the entire world. Like, surely at some point, somebody at Apple, just by pure chance, would have their own mouse and plug it in, and someone go, hey, my mouse don't work right. Maybe we should change the drivers. But no one even considered it, I think. It's weird. Charles, that's not sorry. Wayne Taylor says, picked up 200 two-year-old Apple iPads from a local university last week, all iCloud locked, so to recycle center, totally useless. Yeah, that is bad, isn't it? You're absolutely right, Bob. You're absolutely right. Stuart Cleary says, sorry, I have to unsubscribe. There's an Apple product in my vision. I feel nauseous. I am actually, well, I've got 30 days to send it back because it's from Amazon. So I am going to play with it. I'm going to see what benefits it has actually got. But it's, I don't know. I can see there's definitely use case scenarios for it due just to the size that it's tiny. And if you are on the Apple ecosystem, there's something which is cool, which I kind of like, but most people would probably just think, well, why are you paying that much money for that? And that is the fact that you can get your messages directly onto your PC.
But who texts nowadays?
But yeah, people don't text, or very rarely do people iMessage. So things like obviously WhatsApp and Snapchat and stuff like that have taken over that really. But yeah, that is kind of a cool thing. The fact that you can use your iPhone as a webcam directly, so it just says, oh yeah, you've got an iPhone, do you want to use it as a webcam for things like FaceTime and that? That's actually quite cool. It does it. I know you can do that with Windows. You can set it up so that it will use the cameras on here as a webcam for your computer, which you can kind of do for Windows, but it's a very convoluted thing to do. Whereas that just says, oh, do you want to use it? It's like, well, no, not really. But
so connecting your phone to your computer even easier.
Yeah. Makes a great doorstop, says Rick H. I'm glad I've kind of done it and started having a look. Because it seems weird that obviously the Apple market and the ecosystem is expanding. Now it can't all be hipsters, although probably it could be. Although a lot of the Apple videos you watch, they are either content creators, so they make films, or they are music producers, or into music production, or wannabe music producers. So I think there is definitely a significant slant to the demographic. So there's the automatic kind of thing that if you're doing content creation, like if you're working, you should do it on a Mac. But I would probably say from my initial experience that if you're working, you would be better off getting a PC, and you'll probably save some money, and you'll probably have a lot more flexibility. So the PC is far, far from dead. And actually, if you consider what could you buy for £600, which would compete with that, and it's pretty easy. Possibly even the same form factor, if not smaller. Anyway. Mookie MC says testing is one thing, but if I see even one succulent on the stream, I am out of here. I don't think we don't even own a succulent, do we?
Kind of. The aloe vera probably.
Oh, we got
one,
we got aloe vera plants.
It's a bit like.
If we start going to the point,
mash, shall we say?
Yeah. If we start getting to the point where all the RGB in the PC is set to one color, and suddenly I've got an extra light source over there,
And a bike.
and a bike in the background, and a succulent here instead of Mike's unboxing mug, run for the hills.
And a little peak cap.
Yeah. If I grow a moustache and start twirling out the ends,
Oh, I'll get you beard wax.
maybe even have a monocle. Oh dear. Wayne Taylor, what percentage does Apple have in the enterprise market? 0%. I honestly don't know. I'm guessing Apple servers are not a thing anymore. I've never known. Welcome to Mike's Unboxing. Today we'll be looking at the Mac Mini.
Draw a little beard on with the marker pen like you did last time.
David Under says I have lots of aloe vera in my garden. Well, I wish we could.
Don't grow in our garden, too cold.
Tried it, didn't work. David Under says only £525 here in Australia. What was that for a Mac Mini M2? That's good. I think it was. It's supposed to be 600, I think, but I think I paid 570, maybe. I don't know. I guess it's probably going to end up going back. To be fair, I'm not sure. We'll see.
But then, to have an opinion, you do need to see both sides.
Yeah, that's it. David Anderson says, yes, can't sell the crap without discounting. To be fair though, that is the same, I think, the market over, regardless of where you are. Apple are very consistent in their discounting structure. So they come out with their MSRP prices, and by and large, they stick to those throughout the product cycle, apart from maybe a couple of special offers at Christmas or Black Friday, or sometimes they have student deals on. Generally, they don't start discounting until the next model is on the horizon, which I believe it will be. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a Mac Mini M3 arguably it's going to be March. It could be April, but it does appear to be on the cards. And generally that'll be probably the same price, but with slightly better spec. But we'll see.
It's only next month, mine, March.
William Bodie says, question, does Kath use an iPhone like Hipster Mike? She does. Kath's been on iPhone probably longer than me. Or about the same
I
time.
got an iPhone 3 to start with. You had it first.
Yeah,
3G. You had a 3G. Then
I had
you
a
got a 3GS and gave me your 3G.
Yeah, I had a 3G, then a 3GS, then a 4, then a 4S. 5.
I don't think you had a 4S.
Don't think I had a 5.
You had a 5. I had a 5S.
Yeah. Kath's got them all here somewhere. They're all still here. iPhone 6 I never had. I think iPhone 6 was about the time then I went over to Windows phones. And stayed with them, then Android a bit. And I didn't go back to iPhone until the XR. Which I've been using the XR since it came out. And I'm still using it now. So I've had that for what? That must be 4 or 5 years at least. Hey Siri. When did the iPhone XR come out?
We got it in 2019.
She won't tell me. Mookie MC says, what monitor are you going to use with that Apple product? I have been using it just for testing purposes with my 27-inch monitor, which is just here, which is just a 1080p one. It seemed fine. It's not ideal. I have done a review. There it is, the iPhone selection, some of them
That's
that
not
we've got
one
left
of them.
here.
I don't know where.
That one's wrecked.
Shut up, now my mum's only just finished reusing that.
This is my old, that's my BBC one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is my BBC iPhone it was my like staff phone, work phone. And
So dated,
I bet
even back then.
I bet it's still got a charge in it.
Nah.
Well, no, it is dead. Considering how old that is in really good condition. Because I never put it in a case, did I? Because I thought, well, it's not mine, why bother?
Still got SIM and stuff in there, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's still got a SIM card in there, which I think they're probably even still paying the bill for. Anyway.
But we can't get access because it's
Yeah.
registered to an
But
email
it's
that we've
locked.
got no access to.
It's attached to my BBC email, which I've got no access to. So anyway, yes, I'll say. So I've got a review coming out of a Thermaltake monitor, the 27-inch one they've done. So they've done two recently, a 32 and a 27. The 27-inch one has actually got a built-in KVM, so that is going to be perfect. So because of the legs of the monitor, it's got like two legs that stick out, two forward, one back. So there's actually a nice space at the bottom where I could put the Mac Mini underneath with the dock here. So I can have that in the middle, still have my PC connected and use the same keyboard and mouse for all of it. So KVM wise, that I'm actually looking forward to doing. But the monitor, I've done the review and I've sent that off to do the rest of the review cycle. So I should be getting that back at some point. So I would like to do that. Wayne says, build yourself a nice NAS. Well, I've got a NAS. I've got a Synology DS420 Plus in the front room, which, touch wood, has been brilliant. That has been running now for, when did that come out? That must be 3 years old, I think. Maybe even more. And yeah, the Synology NAS has been fantastic. I've actually got two other Asus Store NASs upstairs in the cupboard, which I really should do something with, but I haven't done yet. So if anybody wants a NAS, get in touch, because otherwise I think I'm going to just shove them off to CEX or something. David Thompson, product warning, do not wash your gentlemanly naughty parts with mint shower gel, it will burn your bits off. You get used to it after a while. Is that hipster me?
Yeah.
Oh, hipster.
Yeah, I own a Mini Mac.
Where's that on Discord?
Yeah.
Send that to me.
Should I just put it in the main chat?
Yeah. Andy Archer says 2020. Yeah, so almost 4 years.
Robot thing.
Yeah, Synology NAS is one of those things where it is very much like Apple. So you are paying more for a slightly more locked-in system. and in terms of hardware as well. But having said that, I think Synology have been one of the better in terms of hacks, vulnerabilities, etc. So QNAP have had one, or many of them. Asus Store have had quite a few. Western Digital, basically they've had so many problems that they've closed down doing their like OneBook and MyBook and MyBook Duo and whatever those other things were. So those have all stopped now. I would quite like to build my own NAS, but I feel at the moment Synology do such a good job that it's going to be hard to compare, and especially when I don't know that much about how a NAS works in terms of the software. It's all quite confusing unless you do it all the time. So I'm probably going to stick with Synology for the foreseeable. I would still like to do a NAS at some point, like build a custom one. Possibly one with more bays, because I am only on a 4-bay system. I would like to extend it maybe to a 5-bay or 6. Because I do always have that kind of storage envy, where I think, well, have I got enough room there? Because I've got four 4-terabyte drives in there, which are set up with Synology's hybrid RAID. So that gives me around about 11 gigabytes of storage, which I've only used in about 3.7, and that is storing all the footage, video editing stuff. Whenever I finish a project, I copy the whole folder, all the footage and the finished project, chuck it over into the old folders directory, just in case I ever have to redo anything in the video. Andy Archer says the last 2 digits on that model denote the year. Now that is interesting. I didn't know that. That makes a lot of sense. Because you've got the DS223, which came out last year with the AMD processor in it. Awesome stuff. Right, I just realised the time. We have been almost streaming for 3 hours now. So I think it's time we knock this on the head, unless there's any last minute questions. I think we've covered pretty much everything here. And obviously there is going to be more to come on the Mac side of things. If people are interested in it, it's one of those things, I'm not going to be doing the Mac videos for the core audience, although obviously if you want to watch it, you're more than welcome to and give your opinions. That's what it's all about. Ultimately, it's about me experiencing something new, finding out the problems, and trying to then make content to help people who will probably be experiencing exactly the same thing. Much like I do with the PC stuff. But the PC stuff obviously is more of a core thing we do here. And there's way more viewers for it, but we'll see. If it gets to the point where the videos for the Mac stuff, people just hate it and it's not getting any views at all, then I won't do it anymore. That'll be it, because it's pointless, because it's actually quite hard work making a video. Michael T says, learning something new keeps the mind young. Well, definitely, yeah. And it's also like, I've spent so many years in my life just using a PC and really haven't peered much outside of that. So I will be using this for a bit, and I potentially might even experiment with some Linux distributions as well, just to see what they're all about. I don't think the Linux distributions are quite there yet in terms of like for an all-purpose PC for video editing, gaming, and just general PC stuff. I think they're still very good, and they definitely serve a purpose, and it's clearly a better operating system as such. But I do still feel that there's limited support in terms of for dedicated gaming and those other things like RGB support and fan support, all that kind of stuff. It's doable, but I think Windows at the moment certainly rules the roost in terms of flexibility. Mac is probably second with its basically fenced in system, so it just works as it's supposed to. And I suppose something you should say as well about the Mac is the fact that in terms of longevity, they do tend to go on and on and on. As long as nothing breaks on them, they'll just carry on. And there's people that are still using like really old MacBooks and stuff from the 2000s, which are still going strong and using them. So they do have quite good longevity. they're definitely built better than some of the cheaper PCs, like your cheap Acers, your cheap HPs, that sort of stuff. Build quality is extremely good. Anyway, let's move on. Because I got to go to work tomorrow and I hate it. And there's too much command line stuff on Linux to even run an update. Now that is my biggest fear, because I don't like all that. I like a nice, easy operating system where you can just click on stuff and it happens. I don't really want to delve into the registry unless I absolutely have to. I don't really want to have to run a command line prompt unless I actually have to. Anyway, so thank you all for taking part in tonight's stream. Hopefully you've enjoyed yourselves. If you haven't already, smash that like button. If you're new here and this is the first time you've been to one of our streams, then maybe consider subscribing and you'll see more content like this on a daily basis. But for now, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll see you in the very next video. And thanks to everyone who has been so generous with the super chats and all the other gifts, bits and pieces that you send us. Massively, massively appreciated. And yeah, hopefully you've noticed that during this stream, the fridge freezer has not once gone into overdrive mode and made an absolute terrible noise. I'm very proud of that. I fixed that today. Anyway, on that bombshell, I am going to end this stream and we'll see you in the next one. Cheerio. Oh, don't forget, head over to the Discord if you want to carry on chatting, or if you've got any other PC problems which may need solving. Ciao for now. Oh, I said ciao for now again. I can't believe I said that.